All right, welcome to the Krueg Show, everybody. Larry Kruger, Ryan Smith, Dan Coach Amelia with you after 49er football.
Where's the band? The band should be fired up tonight after that victory. There we go.
My goodness. Let's get the band going. Niners win in Mexico City, and wow, what can you say? I mean, it was 49ers right now look like they are on a collision path with either Dallas or Philly in the NFC for the right to go to the Super Bowl and take on Kansas City or Buffalo. That's how I see it. And the final tonight, 38-10. And now we'll get the bands the rest of the night off. Guys, thanks. Appreciate it. You guys are really great tonight. Better than usual. But 38-10, Niners get the win. And I don't know how you guys feel about it. To me, it just seems, I think that, there's a lot of different takeaways, and we're going to have lots of time tonight to get into it. Jordan Elliott may join us as well. A lot of people in the chat. 49ers get a 28-point win in Mexico City. It's a couple things stand out. It's clear that the 49ers' only real road game in the division is now the Seattle Seahawks. Their fans own Mexico City. Their fans could go to Arizona and own that place too if they wanted to. They go to SoFi and basically buy out the Rams. Only really in Seattle is it really a home field advantage. So that's a major advantage for the Niners. That's one. Two, John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan deserve an unbelievable amount of credit for knowing when to strike and knowing when exactly the season was hanging, was in peril. And if you really go back and think about it, just imagine if they don't make the McCaffrey trade and the Rams do. And maybe that wouldn't do it for the Rams this year as far as going to the Super Bowl, but it probably would have been enough to beat the Niners and maybe send this season tumbling out of control. Instead, the 49ers consummate that trade. They bring in McCaffrey, and they win that game. And now they've got a weapon in McCaffrey, guys, that I think is just totally ideally suited to playing with Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, Garoppolo is a noticeably better player now that McCaffrey is here. And the 49ers are a noticeably better offense. They are a top 5 offense since Christian McCaffrey showed up. Just remember that. I know they're struggling points per game and the numbers don't look that good, but since McCaffrey showed up, they're a top 5 NFL offense, and we know what they are defensively. They're number 1 against the run and number 1 overall. So Garoppolo, there was a play in the first half. I'm sure you guys saw this. Garoppolo looked downfield, looked at his first option, wasn't there, went to his second progression, wasn't there. His line was holding up. His feet suddenly were not pitter patter on this play. He was like kind of grounded, kind of solid in the pocket, still looking. Then suddenly the rush comes upon him and he finds Christian underneath and just dumps it off real quick. And Christian went for, I forget what it was, 8 yards, 12 yards, whatever. But it's that kind of player with this quarterback and his accuracy underneath and McCaffrey's ability to catch the ball, really digest the playbook. Shanahan said it. He's got the work ethic of a practice squad player. He's one of the best players in the NFL. He has made a noticeable impact. I thought him and Kittle in the first half were absolutely huge. And then credit Givens and some of those Niner defenders, Jimmy Ward, Charvarius Ward, Dre Greenlaw. I don't know if you guys heard, but Greenlaw had that wrist at the end. I didn't hear anything about that. Any word on that?
I don't know. I saw him going off the field and moving his hand kind of like that, so it didn't appear to be like a
broken wrist.
It
didn't when anytime you think wrist, you're thinking broken, but when they showed the play, it didn't look like there was a blunt trauma to the wrist, but it did get kind of sandwiched in there. So that's a big one if Greenlaw is going to miss any real time, because I thought he was awesome in this game.
Here we go.
Like a truck.
We got the great Lindsay Polaris. I got to follow her now. 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan injury update. No injuries.
Nice.
So
4 of the Niners are rolling, 6-4, first place in the division, 4 of the next 5 at Levi's. They're sitting on a collision course with the Cowboys or Eagles in the conference. And I guess the question, first of all, is to me, anything short of the Super Bowl this year is kind of a disappointment. I think that's kind of the mode I'm in. Not necessarily winning, but at least going. I think they're on that kind of a run. That they're at that point in their history. It's time for them to climb this mountain. But Philly's damn good. Hurts could be one of the MVP candidates. It's Mahomes, but of course, Hurts is having a great year. And then Dallas, we got to talk about that later tonight. Dallas goes to Minnesota and just absolutely annihilated the Vikings. And if that's not the make you kind of, lean up a little bit in your chair going, what is going on in Dallas? The Cowboys could be really scary. So how awesome would it be if we got Niners, Cowboys in the NFC for the right to go to the bowl? So we're putting the cart way before the horse. But
I got to take issue with Anonymous right here.
What's he saying?
Right here in the chat. Let me put my Jimmy G hat on. Anonymous.
Jimmy G's playing great since McCaffrey showed up.
Yeah, and I think Jimmy was playing good before McCaffrey was here. I think he's just, like I said earlier in the year, he's going to get better and better and better. And after the bye, this team will take off, and they're doing exactly that. Anonymous, just humble yourself and give the guy some credit. I mean, he's 20 of 29, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. No passes tonight were even thrown that would have been intercepted. The one when Ayuk slipped and fell down, which was, would have been on target, probably would have been a catch if Ayuk didn't fall down. Troy Aikman is saying he loves Jimmy, thinks Jimmy's a wonderful quarterback. A lot of people say the same thing.
I feel like Troy, like, some quarterbacks, like, you can hear it through the broadcast. Some quarterbacks just piss him off. Like, he can't even control it. Like, when there's just really bad quarterback play. And I think at this point, like, he's like, you know what? Like, I've been watching so much horrible quarterback play this year that it's just nice to see just a professional quarterback in Jimmy.
I mean, Jimmy, the one thing with Jimmy, he's going to compete, right?
Yeah.
He's going to compete. Some guys don't compete week to week. He competes. And anybody who's ripping Jimmy after this one, Jimmy completed almost 70% of his passes, 20 of 29, 228, 4 touchdowns, spread the ball around. I agree with the feeling that he's not that accurate from time to time, but then on other passes, he'll stick it in there and show incredible guts and be very accurate. So to me, I mean, it's just what I love about Jimmy right now is you added a weapon in McCaffrey that he can hook up with as a safety valve. And Jimmy's so good at throwing the underneath stuff. It gives him kind of a last second, thing he can do with the football that's actually going to be really productive. I mean, getting the ball to McCaffrey is a great default, right? I mean, if everything goes wrong, what can you do? You can dump it off to Christian McCaffrey.
Exactly. And you saw that a few times tonight. And,
exactly. That was a huge moment.
You lose credibility when you constantly rip a guy.
We can get off Anonymous now.
He's having a Pro Bowl year. He is.
Well, the last week against the Chargers, I think he was 8 of 10 or something like that on third downs for over 100 yards and a touchdown. So tonight, 20 of 29. I'll take 70%. And I mean, yes, it's the Cardinals. Yes, they've been getting roasted as far as their pass D the last 3 or 4 games for the most part. But still, there's some great individual talents on that defense. Budda Baker's a stud.
Yeah.
I think he's one of my favorite players in the entire league.
Oh, yeah.
JJ Watt's a monster, even at this age. And the other guy inside's pretty good. And they got some guys. I mean, I thought the Niners did a real nice job at just being incredibly the more physical team. And the one thing about the 49ers is if you play the 49ers, you will know that you have played somebody because they show up and throw their bodies around and hit. I mean, think about guys, how many we go in there and talk to these guys. Greenlaw, reckless abandon. Al-Shaair, how about the monster hit that Al-Shaair had tonight? Fonga will hit you. Jimmy Ward will hit you. Charvarius, I thought, was terrific tonight. So there's just a lot of physicality in their defense. Givens up front.
Yeah, what the I terrific. I thought he might have hurt McCoy on that one sack. You could hear it through the TV.
Yeah, Givens was rumbling. So, and then the only thing I will say on the continuing theme, and I wasn't sure, but now it seems like Debo is just not quite moving the way Debo moved in the past. He looks a little bit slowish right now. I'll tell you, there was that one play in the first half.
They said he was running almost 20 miles per hour on that one TD, though.
Well, when he gets it cooking on that second level, that's a then he gets But as far as his acceleration,
I think he was
right now
tonight. I think
the other one, the play early in this game is the one I was talking about. He's running east and west on the line of scrimmage, take it up the field on the short yardage. And he got knocked out of bounds. And it's like that play where Debo's running to the sideline last year. To me, it seems like he got the edge and took it up the field. This year, he's getting ridden out of bounds. And a lot of times, if he doesn't cut it up the field, we're talking about a 2-yard loss. I mean, it's not just not a big gainer. We're talking about a tackle for a loss. So that's a little bit of a concern. I thought Kittle looked pretty banged up at the end of this game, but I don't know. Maybe, obviously, he wasn't. As far as Kyle said, no official injuries.
On that, his last touchdown, it looked like a Madden play where you hit the truck stick but then you make no contact because they just fully made a business decision to just let him walk in the end zone.
Seriously, I mean,
okay. Anonymous and I seem to be having it out here.
Okay, Dan, it's all right.
I just want to say this, Anonymous. I didn't say he was a Pro Bowler. I said he's having a Pro Bowl year, which makes him.
Mac Jones made the Pro Bowl last year.
Yeah, exactly. Pro Bowl is you're talking about 3 or 4 quarterbacks make the Pro Bowl. Name me 3 quarterbacks in the NFC who are having better years than Jimmy this year. Go ahead, Anonymous.
I might
put him in the comments. I'll wait.
Well, who would we go with? Obviously, Hurts is having a better year.
Hurts.
Cousins is probably having a pretty damn good year. I haven't looked at all the numbers. Isn't Cousins having a pretty good year in Minnesota?
Yeah, I think you have to give the nod to maybe Cousins and Geno ahead of him.
I don't know about Geno. Geno's played well, but he didn't play great in that game against the Niners. And then I saw him a couple weeks ago. He didn't play great. I don't know. To me, he's right there with Geno.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'd put him in front of Geno.
He's right there at 3-4 this year. He's right in the top 4.
How about this one? Mario says here, he says, Jimmy's playing his best football of his career, point blank and period. Stop hating on the man. I would more side with Mario at this point. Not that, hate all you want. I mean, to me, it's all fine. It's all fair game. But let's look at it for what it is. Jimmy, football is about making plays, make plays. The one thing, if you wanted to have a conversation with any football player, we do it twice a week. What are you guys trying to do out there? Make plays. Okay. So that's the game, right? Offense trying to make plays, defense is trying to make plays. But the thing that's never talked about, and it's a huge part of playing quarterback at a high level in the NFL, is not making huge negative plays. And that's what the best quarterbacks do. Now, Mahomes does it all. He's the top of the heap, and so's Josh Allen. But I mean, Tom Brady's made a career out of not making mistakes. Rodgers doesn't make tons of mistakes. He has this year. They've regressed. So I just think that Jimmy is synonymous. I mean, think about Jimmy playing well, doing some nice things, floats it late in the middle. Well, how would this game be different if Jimmy just threw that ball into the turf? Oh. I feel like for the last month, he's throwing some balls away. We saw him. How about the beginning of this game? Was it the first drive where he basically had a deal hooked up with Kittle? The timing was off. He just chucked it to the sideline and went to the next play. I was a little pissed off watching it going, hey, try to make a play there. But you know what? I do like the mindset of some plays, we're going to throw it away and we're moving on to the next play. You have McCaffrey, Mitchell, Debo, Ayuk, Kittle, Dwelly. You got guys. I thought Jordan Mason ran hard at the end of the game. They've got weapons. They can't turn it over. And that's what Jimmy, I think, is starting to get. And I think that's why we're seeing the best football of his career. And think about it, guys. With these weapons, they operate underneath, they don't turn it over, they put their defense on the field, they got a good chance to beat anybody. At least in the NFC. I don't know. Kansas City looks awfully good, but at least in the NFC.
And you should remember, this is week 11. We still have there's still what are they? They're 6-4, so there's still 7 games to play. A lot can happen. Injuries, anything can come up with different teams. What we're seeing right now, it's going to be probably somewhat different as we get into week 16, 17. right now the Washington Commanders or Commodores or whatever the heck they are.
The Commodores.
Yeah.
Lionel Richie.
Yeah. I mean, they're hot and they're peaking right now and doing well, but will they be there in week 16, 17? I don't know. Niners are going to play them in week 15 or something? Could be a big matchup if the Niners don't win that game on the 15th of December against Seattle up in that Thursday night game. So Niners just need to keep playing, putting teams away. They've got 3 straight home games coming up, New Orleans, and then who's after that? Miami? No.
New Orleans, Miami. Is it Seattle or Washington, then Seattle, or Seattle, then Washington?
Let me look at this schedule here.
Let me read a couple of these super chats. Yeah. Glass half full guy, $4.99. Here's my tip towards Aaron Judge's room at the Mark Hopkins. Oh, he's staying at the Regis. I don't know. I mean, I kind of brought that up before, and I got called old man because I said go Hopkins or Fairmont. But I'll say this: you, Mark Hopkins, you go Fairmont, you're not stepping over homeless or feces or crack addicts or
they know
needles.
What they're doing.
You're not south of Market is a gigantic toilet bowl of urine and stench. I think I'd go Mark Hopkins, but that's just me.
Saints next week, then the Dolphins, and then the Bucks.
Saints, Dolphins, Bucks. Well, I'll tell you that the Saints defense. The Saints defense is good, and the Bucks defense seems like it's getting better, and the Dolphins can score and have a ton of speed. All good challenges. The Niners could win all those games. They could easily lose all those games.
Wow.
I
feel Luna, by the way, $2 is Jimmy play awful.
That kind of sounds like play awful.
Jimmy play awful. Danny, do you like it?
Jimmy play awful. Playoffs. Yeah, I think so. Wow. No, what are we on? We going to stay on this Niner thing, or are we get to the judge stuff later? You're breaking. You're cut out there, Lair.
I think you might have hit your cough button, Lair. Oh, Larry's working with some new equipment, so it's understandable. Yeah, that Miami game I'm really looking forward to. I think it might get flexed. Actually, because I think the Sunday night game as of right now it's like Cowboys playing someone really, really bad and boring. So I feel like it would be, how do you not flex that if Miami can?
Oh yeah, that would be an awesome game. Just to
Shanahan or whatever.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah, the unfortunate thing is now. I want to see. Oh no, Seattle just had their bye this week. Good.
Yeah.
I was hoping they had a bye before the Thursday night game against. That would have been awful to do, the NFL. But no, so they both aren't going to be on the same days rest. Larry's, we can't hear you. Maybe it's a plug. Maybe you unplugged something by mistake. Maybe USB. Maybe something popped out of the back of the mic. Push it all the way in. Maybe it's not all the way in the back of your mic.
You know what, Talbot? The great point bringing up what he said, Womack with more great special teams play. And although it was late and against McSorley, he played cornerback well. Perhaps he's watching film with Huff. He wasn't fooled on any pass. I agree. He's looked really, even like it seemed like the first play he got in, he timed up a tackle where it was I don't remember who the receiver was. It might have even been Hopkins, or maybe it was AJ Green. The second they caught it, Womack was in midair, as the ball was hitting him in the hands, and it was just boom. So that dude is a total stud. He's one of the Krueg show favorites. Him and Drake Jackson. Actually, Womack may have surpassed him in terms of the guy who we always badger to give us an interview. Okay, Larry, you're being asked to adapt sign language. Can't hear you yet. Maybe try unplugging it, plugging it back in, and then if that doesn't work, maybe click into your settings, check the audio. Yeah, almost 2 picks for Womack. The other one that would have been a pick 6, the first one, right? But yeah,
your mic says it's not connected according to my sources.
Oh, your sources. Okay.
Oh man.
But I do think that Larry was onto something with the McCaffrey thing. If you think about even just the presence of McCaffrey, I mean, Jimmy, he's played 3 games since McCaffrey's got there. First of all, they're 3-0, and he has 7 touchdowns and 0 turnovers.
Hey, I sent you a text. Cue that up. I commented on it while I was taping it. It's a play with the defense. It's totally the study of film by Hufanga. He is.
It's a ball breakdown.
Yeah, well, it's not too much. It's just he recognizes from film what's coming, and you'll see on this play what he does is Jimmy Ward is up close in the slot, and Hufanga moves him back to safety.
Okay, I'm going to try
and
and play
Hufanga comes and does a blitz and causes he almost gets the sack. Now watch this.
Backup is Trace McSorley.
Now watch Hufanga come up. He comes up and tells Ward, "Get back."
The play. He moves Ward out, and here comes on the blitz, perfectly timed.
Oh my God!
That's all Hufanga.
Wow, that was pretty shocking, actually.
See how he did that? Play that again. He comes up. He recognized something, and he knew he was going.
45 says Larry went to Grant's Live.
I think he recognized.
Larry, your thing seems to be muted. Like on StreamYard.
Oh yeah, push the button on StreamYard. The mute button on the side, the left under settings.
Just the classic mute button that you'd normally mute. Yeah.
Better?
Yeah.
There you go.
Hey.
Yes. Hey. All right, look at
Okay, so hear this. So watch Hufanga.
About Hufanga there is he's falling off a lot of tackles for the last month, which, you got to make that play, but I mean, it's still a great play to get that kind of penetration in the backfield. There's no hesitation in his game. I was hoping Womack, I know you guys probably were too. I was hoping Womack was going to jump one of those routes and take it to the house because he's that kind of player.
Oh,
I mean,
sure.
I think that's what we're going to go talk to him about this week is that, late in the game, playoff situation, 49ers with, 3-4 point lead on the road in Philly. If you can jump an out pass and guess right, you can become a pretty big hero. You know what I'm saying? You get a pick 6 at the link to beat the Eagles to go to the Super Bowl, and people will be walking around town wearing Samuel Womack jerseys.
Yeah.
Right? Am I right?
Oh, no, 100%. Legend.
I can't hear you guys now.
Looks like we need to get into the super chat here. It looks like we're turning a little bit baseball, senior softball games. Donates
Bonds
$2.
be in the room when the Giants meet with Judge. $2 there.
Yeah.
I would love it
I
to
think
be
so.
in the room.
I believe so. And I think I wouldn't
heard
be surprised if Rich Aurela.
Judge.
I wouldn't be surprised if Rich Aurelia's there. I'm almost certain Buster will be in there. Larry Bear.
What about Faith?
Faith will be in there, and there's talk Farhan might be there.
Andrew Cassidy just says, "Here's $5 just for the heck of it."
Yeah.
Will Bonds be in the room? Also,
I got an interesting.
Also, glass half full guy Debo intrigues me because he's not a burner, but he gets past guys and takes it to the house.
Oh, I missed that one.
He's got a little bit of TO in him.
Yeah, and he's a bruiser. It looks like the It almost looked like the Cardinals just didn't want to get in front of him and try and tackle him because he was going.
This was the first time where it was like, okay, the Niners are starting.
Overall, though, I would say, you look at this game on the Niners. We'll get into the Giants and the Niners. We can take it in any direction you guys want. But as far as, to me, the one thing that stood out, Niners ran for 5.7 a carry. That's a ton. That's almost 6 yards a pop. If they can run for nearly 6 yards a pop, they're and the weapons that they have in the passing game, and Jimmy just avoids negative plays. That's really their recipe for being Super Bowl caliber offensively. They've got plenty of weapons. They put tons of pressure on you. You can see, I love Jeff Wilson too. And people, after he had one big game, were like, oh, Jeff Wilson, McCaffrey, and, are they really improved? I mean, come on. McCaffrey is much more dynamic.
Oh, it changes. It's a 1-2 punch with Mitchell.
Yeah, and also they can just do so many things with McCaffrey as a receiver out of the backfield. I just think he's so dangerous on that second level because he gets against safeties and linebackers and he can break a tackle and he can run through an arm tackle. And he's got such great hands. He's so dependable. And Jimmy makes that throw. I really think if I was Jimmy, knowing that McCaffrey's here, McCaffrey is the weapon that I would want to play with if I were Jimmy Garoppolo, right? Why? Because you got a chance to look down the field, see what you got. Is Debo, Ayuk, you got Kittle, you got mismatches sometimes. Oh, you don't have anything? It's all shut down. Dump it to McCaffrey.
Well, did you notice that did you notice? I don't know if you've looked at it, and I'm not studying the film like afterwards. I'm just looking at it live, but it appears to me, since McCaffrey's come on, especially the last game or two, more so even tonight, that the routes that the receivers are running are deeper, that Kittle's going deeper, that the wideouts are going deeper, which is leaving the middle of the field wide open for a check down to McCaffrey.
I haven't particularly noticed.
I noticed that tonight. Kittle, because I had Kittle tonight.
It does seem like the other guys run the deeper routes since McCaffrey's the safety valve underneath. It's almost as if, the game plan is run off the coverage, create the space.
Yes, exactly.
And then let Christian operate underneath. And but it's such a pitch and catch show for Garoppolo. It puts so much pressure on the defense.
And then you got situations where you got Debo and McCaffrey in the backfield, and one goes in motion, takes the defense this way, and they don't know what the heck's coming. And you got, Debo running an out or a flat. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. And for the opposing defenses tonight, I was listening. I usually don't listen to the pregame on ESPN because I'm not as interested, but with the Niners, I was listening, and Steve Young was on along with Robert Griffith III and Larry Fitzgerald, and then Adam Scheffler. And Steve Young said about Kyle Shanahan's offense, he said, it is so amazing of an offense. He said he would, if they called him, he would go play right now because he was serious.
That too.
He was serious. He said, because it's a pitch and catch offense. He says, Kyle only asks you to make about 10 throws that are kind of difficult throws in a game. The rest are just designed so unbelievable. The guys are wide open. Steve said, he goes, if I could play for any coach, it would be Kyle Shanahan today. So
I'll tell you the other really underrated part of the 49ers that, we're almost a half hour into the live stream and we never mention these guys. Ryan and I talk to these guys. It seemed like every week or every other week. Aaron Banks, Spencer Burford, those two guys. I mean, think about what the Niners did there. They plugged in two monster young guards. Burford's played tackle at UTSA. He can play guard. He's obviously at right guard. He played right tackle last year. He's just a big mauler in the run game. Smart kid, athletic kid, but just a Hulk. And then across the locker room, you got Aaron Banks, and Banks is now in year 2. Essentially, he's a rookie. He just gets better and better and better. And I'll give Lynch credit in the midst of a bunch of people starting to pile on Banks at the end of last year. I'm not sure if I would put us in that crowd just because I don't really like to say anything about guys I haven't seen, but you're starting to wonder, is this kid going to be the next Joshua Garnett? Is he going to get on the field? He was a second-round pick. He never saw the field. He could only be active on game day like twice in his rookie year, or maybe 3 times all year. What's the deal? And Lynch doubled down and said, hey, no, Banks is going to be a player. And he's going to be a player for a while. And that's what we're seeing this year. And we've talked to him about it. He repositioned his body, lost all the fat, put on a bunch of muscle. His walk around weight's about 325. He's an athlete. I mean, seriously, I've seen this guy take his pads off and drain 25 footers in the at the shooting baskets. I mean, he's an athlete. I've seen him drive down and make. I mean, Aaron Banks is a big, he's like a Coke machine size guy. He's just a monster-sized guy, but that's his natural ability, and they're not giving up any pass rush inside. So Jimmy's not getting a lot of heat in his face. I mean, that's where it really starts. If your quarterback gets heat in his face, it's hard to do anything. And Donald did a lot to that, to them last year in the NFC title game. And it was like, wow, Niners need to bulk up inside. And they plug in two guys in Banks and Burford, and give Chris Forster credit, guys, and Brendel as well. Let's give Brendel credit. He had a couple really nice plays tonight. That interior Niner offensive line is where it all starts. And we were hoping it wouldn't be awful. It's been kind of a strength.
Yeah, seriously.
What do you guys think?
I mean, today that's one thing that
Danny.
No,
No, we're good. We're good.
It's hard.
Got my tech son checking in with us.
No problem. So yeah, the offensive line, not only did they do a great job at handling the rush.
I don't hear Rye.
Oh, am I? Dan, can you hear me?
Mute yourself, Rye?
Yeah, I hear you, Rye.
Oh,
you do? Do you hear me?
Yeah.
I don't hear Rye. Really?
Hello?
Oh, now I hear you.
Okay, all right.
Larry has a slightly delayed hearing problem.
We have a new situation, a new hookup. As you can tell, the studio's a little bit different look, a little fancier. We had some big sponsors come in and really dress the thing up. Great lighting. A lot of tech people working on this for hours for the last several weeks. It's a lot's gone on over here.
I was going to say about the O-line. In addition to just keeping Jimmy clean and blocking well in the run game, pass game, no penalties really.
You're right.
We're so used to, even when the Niners kind of play their A game, they still have just a bunch of really annoying penalties. And I don't know. I couldn't tell if it was like the refs were sort of letting things go in this game, but I thought the game had a great flow on both sides. I thought they did a really, weren't that many penalties. And man, it is just such a big difference when the Niners aren't constantly shooting themselves in the foot.
My son is weighed in from, he's home now from school. He says the stream looks really nice with the new lighting.
Ooh.
So there you go.
Yeah,
he likes the new lighting.
Yeah, Andrew Cassidy, $5. I was hoping Kittle would have a big night as
Kittle, I'll read it. It says Kittle finally demanded the ball in the media last week. Look what happened tonight. And also Arizona was like the worst team in the league statistically against the tight end.
I was kind of freaking out because my fantasy, I know Nick Martinez is in the house tonight in the chat. Nick had an unbelievable last 5-10 minutes yesterday's games. He was
fantasy
projected at 90 points. That was it. I'm sitting there projected at 130. He's at 90, and he's sitting like around 65, 70, 80 points, maybe 80 points. And all of a sudden, everything just went crazy for him. He had Joe Burrow, who started going off, and McPherson, the kicker, started going off.
Was awesome this week.
And then he had Najee Harris, who gets this freak touchdown because the guy for the Steelers catches the ball in the end zone, but the ball's out of the end zone, but his feet are in the end zone, so he falls at the 1 yard line. So Najee Harris comes in and runs it in, and then he gets a TD for Harris. And then
hey, Dan, I don't want to come off the wrong way, but I don't give a fuck about your fantasy team.
I know. You got blown out, man. You don't even look like you belong in the league right now.
Dan, I don't want to, don't take this the wrong way, but nobody gives a fuck about your fantasy team.
I know. I'm just describing what happened yesterday. It was unbelievable.
Dan, I really like you as a guy, and I like that hat, but nobody gives a fuck about your fantasy team. All right. Please take that and just put that on a reel. Nobody gives a fuck about your fantasy team.
Yeah.
It's like sitting down next to somebody and saying, I've got a terrible itchy rash. And can I tell you about it? It's like under my arm, but it's like an itchy
kind of like
rash.
A hemorrhoid or something, or what?
Nobody gives a shit about your itchy rash. Nobody gives a shit about your fantasy team.
But it was pretty unbelievable what happened at fantasy Kittle tonight, though. I will say
I don't give a fuck about your fantasy team.
Kittle went off, man. He went off tonight. Those 2 touchdown runs were kind of like we watched. The last 2 years we've watched Kelsey do what Kittle used to do. you remember the game Kittle had when he almost broke the tight end record about
I
5
think
years
he did
ago?
break the record.
Did you guys catch it on the broadcast, by the way, that Troy Aikman was like, yeah, and that's what Aikman or Buck was like, George Kittle's, that's why he's the best in the biz. And it's like, if you're didn't I just watch Travis Kelce last night look way, way better than this in some ways? I mean, Travis Kelce was pretty freaking awesome. I love Kittle, and Kittle's a great guy, but I mean, Travis Kelce, if I'm Travis Kelce, I'm like, hey, what about me? What about last night? Isn't it funny how when Kelce plays, people who watch those games say, there you go, Travis Kelce, he's the best in the business. Then when Kittle plays the next night, hey, there's George Kittle, he's the best in the business. They both can't be the best in the business.
You know what?
Who is the best in the business?
You're so right. And the same thing happens at receiver. If they're watching Devontae Adams, he's the best in the business.
He's the best. Cooper Kupp, he's the best.
He's the best. Justin Jefferson.
Jamar Chase. Yeah.
Justin Jefferson's the best. Jamar Chase is number one. Yeah, seriously. I'll say this. Mahomes is the best.
Yeah.
Mahomes on Sunday reminded me of Montana. That was the first time I thought, oh my God, this guy's Montana. It was like when you know a guy's going to do it and then he goes and does it and he makes it look like he could do it 100 times out of 100. And it's amazing when Kansas City starts dialing up their pace and he starts really focusing in and he drops back to pass. He's always got somebody open and he just hits them. And if he doesn't, he burns you with a run. And it's like, Patrick Mahomes is not one of the fastest quarterbacks in the league, but who cares? He knows when to run. He just absolutely crushes you.
Hey, let me ask you this.
I thought I watched some of that last night. I was like, wow.
If the 49ers make the Super Bowl, who do you want to play?
Kansas City.
Yeah.
I want
to play
Kansas City.
Oh, that Patrick.
You got to go through the Kansas City. I'll tell you the other thing too, watching the end of that Kansas City game. Games on the line for the last series, needed defensive play. Chris Jones makes 2.
Oh my God. He just grabbed Herbert with one arm. Oh.
But he knew exactly where Herbert was going because he knew that Herbert was going to try to do what Mahomes had just done. And that just gouge him down the middle on a big wide open lane with some wide teams in their wide splits trying to rush the passer, spread you out, create that space, start playing games. And then, that leaves a big lane for the quarterback down the middle. And he knew it. And as soon as Herbert, and I'll give Herbert, a little criticism in that, unlike Mahomes, who's when he sees it, he just goes. Herbert kind of is more of a pocket passer at heart, and he kind of leaned into it and gave the indication he was going. When you're going to go, you got to go, and he just didn't go fast enough. So Chris Jones made that play, then he made the next play. I mean, Chris Jones, that's another one. Chris Jones. He's the best in the business. And then it's like
Aaron Donald.
Nobody's better.
Oh, Tennessee's playing. It's so accurate.
Isn't that funny?
But you know what? On the Kelce note, though, of being the best in the business, I think that there's going to start to be a dialogue about him versus Gronk, simply on account of I think that Gronk at his peak was a more dominant player, but they're the same age, and Gronk hasn't been in the league really doing this kind of stuff for like 4 years. And Kelce is still at the peak of his powers.
We got this one. Matt Reinhardt says, "You guys doing any World Cup content?
A little footy?
Yeah, we will do some World Cup content. I mean, I saw that today. I watched that today. That was some good stuff. I mean,
Pulisic.
I'm not exactly Pulisic, who is just a guy on his team, right? I mean, he's like the best player on our team, but on the team that he's on normally, he's what?
He's like legitimately like he's like
the best
81,
American.
He's like 81 overall in FIFA, which is I mean, like I'm trying to think of like an example in basketball. I guess it would be like
it's a beautiful pass though.
Yeah, he is a good player.
I mean, that was a beautiful pass.
And I think the big controversy is this kid Giovanni Reina or something like that. I know he's on Dortmund, and he was like supposed to be the next guy after Pulisic, like the next like on an international stage guy, and he got benched. Real James Wiseman type situation going on the U.S. men's national team.
Did you watch any of the recap? Because the commentator, what's the guy's name?
Landon Donovan?
No, it wasn't Landon Donovan on ESPN with SVP. I just watched it, but he was making the point that on that last play where drew the penalty kick that they, basically those defensemen got burned off the initial move, and basically the attackers got too deep. It created an angle, and then the American defender got a little too aggressive and got the penalty, and then of course the guy hit the penalty kick for the tie. So a lot of people said the tie was like the loss. That in this particular game against Wales, that they were looking for the win. Ties like a loss, but as far as
they call it, you know what? We got a result. That's
I didn't know that. Hey, Larry, didn't you pick this guy up the other day? Broncos wave.
Yes, I do, but I'm actually saving. I'm actually holding him just in case.
He might end up in a situation like.
Where could he go? Where could Melvin Gordon go to save his career? But the same way, I just told Dan I don't give a F about his fantasy team. Now I'm. Get into
I just lost that comment. I got to pull up that last Judge comment. Where did it go?
Yeah, it's right here. I got it.
Okay,
last half full guy, $9.99. He says, I really hope this Judge situation doesn't drag on. Just make the highest offer and do whatever it takes to get him. Giants are the only team in the division without a star player. Do it.
You guys want to hear my thoughts?
Guy. By the way, I have it laid out. I am glass half full guy.
Yeah. Here's my thoughts on this. Here's my prediction on this Judge thing. I've been saying this, and I'm going to logic it out. I'm going to look at it from a human element. Judge and his wife are both from Linden. Their parents are both there in Linden. Linden's a town of less than 2,000 people. They just got married last year. They're high school sweethearts. They're going to probably start a family here soon, within the next few years, I imagine. And where do
are they using protection right now, Dan? Or
I don't know, Larry. I haven't got that deep into it.
No, you sounded very deep into it. That's why I asked.
I will say this. I think because, it's important, especially for the woman. She's going to want to be kids by her mother, grandparents be close by. I believe he's signing with the Giants. And I also believe it's coming before Thanksgiving. I think Judge
before Thanksgiving.
I do. This is my thought.
That will, the way that KD once made our 4th of July. Yeah. What if it was on Thanksgiving? Oh, dude, how incredible would it be in Northern California to wake up on on Thanksgiving morning to a little Macy's Day parade and Aaron Judge coming to the Giants?
Oh, yeah. The only thing
that would be the greatest Thanksgiving maybe ever.
Well, hey,
our families.
Listen to Nick's comment.
Oh, man.
Ovulating.
Yeah, well, okay. All right.
Here I got Linden's a town of 6,000. They're getting ready to start a family.
No, this is I'm lodging this out.
I'm creepy. I got to be honest.
I'm lodging this thing out because listen, you don't want to have your grandparents 3,000 miles away, and if you grew up in Linden, you probably don't want to raise your kids in New York City. Okay, I mean, I'm just thinking. The other thing I'm going to say about this
generalizations, there's all kinds of people in Linden. They're very eclectic. Each individual in Linden is their own individual. How dare you make it sound like every person from Linden, California is like every other person from Linden, California.
Who says that?
This is an affront to Linden. You'll need to apologize to the mayor.
Not at all.
To every citizen of Linden.
Small towns. I'm telling you, I lived in Idaho.
No, you're reading it right. You're reading. I hear you.
And here's another thing. Here's another thing. Judge, you got
another point to make, Dan? Go ahead.
Judge said last week that he'd like to get this thing done early. He's thinking, I want to be on a win team. That's true.
He did. He said he wants to get it out of the way so then they could do other things.
Exactly.
To improve the club. So you're right. If he's coming to the Giants, he's coming on the early end.
Yes.
Maybe, Larry Bear, the way he thinks, he's always thinking marketing. Thanksgiving Judge.
Yes, and here's the other thing.
Thanksgiving Judge. Yes.
Here's the other thing.
Danny, let's put it out there in the Twitterverse. Yeah. Let's make this happen. Ryan gives us a retweet, and we're off and running.
Yeah, I'm a senior. As a
you're
season
in a 55 and over community.
Yeah,
you break this.
As a season ticket holder, I got an email today from the Giants. They are having a chalk talk with Farhan.
Get in there.
And I sent in a question. Today, but I RSVP'd. But the Chalk Talk is December 1st. It's with the new guy, Pete Petulia, Farhan, and
they want to walk into that chalk talk like conquering heroes.
Exactly.
They don't want to walk into that chalk talk going, "Hey, you, and what's his name, and what the fuck." You know, they don't want. Do you want that, or do you want?
We re-signed Yaz.
They could walk in like the White Sox after this. You know, they won the court case in 1919. Everybody's glad handing him. Hey.
Oh, and it's Gabe Kapler too. Kapler, Petulia, and Farhan, and they're taking questions. And now that I put everything together,
What's the over/under on the number of times that Gabe Kapler during any part of that says, "That's a good question"? I will take the over/under at 7.5. That's a good question, or that's a good point.
Here's my take on this whole thing. Sign Bellinger, Judge, Correa.
Oh, look at Danny. Bellinger,
maybe,
Judge, and Correa.
Yeah, move
you
Crawford.
You may get the season tickets back next year.
Oh, I'll do the tickets for sure. Then Correa and a frontline starting pitcher, and now you are a competitor. You're
and
right
you know
there.
what?
Right
you
there.
might be able to, at this rate, you might be able to actually sell that hat to pay for part of your tickets. With the way you bought low on that hat.
Yeah, I bought low on this.
Like
$12. Yeah.
If you go like this to the bill, does it go quack,
this
quack,
is a bad
quack,
build.
quack?
It's an $8. Yeah, it's a Mickey Mouse hat.
Oh yeah, I think that looks better like that.
Play a Mickey.
Yeah, that looks really good.
Yeah, I kind of look like Baller now.
Yeah.
Next time Baller comes on, you should come in like that. And just pretend and just copy his speech pattern.
Since we're talking baseball, look at my new hat I bought yesterday.
Go Boch.
Boch. That's my new team for the American League now.
Look at you.
I'm pulling for Boch. I want to see Boch get one more.
Is that all red or is that like an Expos?
It's blue on the side, yeah.
Do they even wear that, or is that just for?
No, I don't.
You have to take the little propeller off, like when
they didn't have the blue one that I wanted. They didn't have it, so yeah, the blue.
Where are you going for lids these days?
This one was just at the local mall. I usually go lids.com. Those where I usually get most of my hats.
Dan, I remember you would have loved. Have you ever gotten in on? I'm sure you haven't, but back in the day, like not that far in the past, but like in high school, we used to always like put in these jersey orders from these like sketchy, companies out of China.
Yeah.
And it would be like, $6 jerseys, and we'd just do the most massive orders. I feel like you would have had a field day.
I love it. Well, golly, they said I look like Gomer Pyle.
That's a great look on you, Dan.
Yeah,
G-Code Travels Vlog POV. Can we just call ourselves like Bob? Do we have G-Code Travels Vlog? It sounds like a Kyle Shanahan play.
Yeah.
$1.99.
G-Code Travels Vlog POV.
Did the 49ers run game period stay away?
Oops, I'm sorry. I took that
What happened? Somebody got an itchy trigger finger there?
There we go.
Did 49ers run game period stay away McGlinchey side?
Did they stay away from the McGlinchey side on purpose?
I mean, I'm just reading it straight.
They were running.
This is America's youth right here. Most likely.
They were running over off the right side at times. They were going off.
I think it's more so you say it, were they running towards Trent Williams' side?
What I didn't understand in this game was why the Niners didn't
use
Elijah Mitchell in the first half.
Yeah, it was almost like they were like, all right, first half mode, we're just going all passing and McCaffrey. Second half, we're switching into our power running here.
Here was the plan. Here was the plan. I'll tell you what it was.
Oh God, you know everything.
I know everything. I know everything tonight. Yeah.
If you get it in more fantasy crap,
common sense.
God damn it!
No, they were running. They had McCaffrey going, and they were passing, and then they were running McCaffrey. Then they brought in Mitchell to soften. I mean, he softened the defense with a bunch of runs, and then they did that reverse to Debo, which got him the TD. It was all set up. And then with the Arizona also didn't practice in high altitude. They stayed here in Arizona, which is barely above sea level. And they were so gassed, Arizona, second half, they just ran it down their throat. That's
I
what
love
think.
the game plan. Mitchell is such a good player. I mean, think about it. It's not just that he's got great speed, great quickness and speed. He's got the ability. He's got vision. He's got pace. He understands how to read blocks. He can pick and slide. He can make a guy wait. He's got patience like an older player, but he's a young player. And like, if you can run him inside, he's looking to take it to the house, man, on every carry. He gets to that second level. He'll make that second guy miss. And it's funny. Aikman said it in the broadcast. He's totally right. If you scheme it up for 2, he gets you 4. If you scheme it up for 4, he gets you 6. There's times in the backfield that should be a 3-yard loss. He turns it into like a 1-yard gain.
Wait, Larry, remember when that exact
those runs
comment,
that are so impressive?
that was so cool when Aikman made that exact comment you just brought up. He's like, he gets like these 4-yard runs, he turns them into 6, and then it was literally a 4-yard run that turned into 6.
Oh, exactly. And the player knocked him forward like 2 yards too.
Yeah, that was, Matt Wright donates $4.99. Mahomes has no one left outside Kelsey to throw to, and he performed brain surgery on the D to win that freaking game with Kelsey and Scrubs. Well, he's got McCole Hardman. I'll tell you, the guy who's coming on is Sky Moore. Danny's probably going to pick him up on Wednesday in the fantasy league.
You're just look at the standings tomorrow. I bypassed.
Is there an earthquake going on there, Dan?
Is it shaking? Oh, my monitor. I'm going through the comments because
I bet you
we had a Andrew Cassidy comment that
he said Mr. Cassidy inside info.
He had $5 comment. He said that was my thought too, and I can't find it. It disappeared. It was when I was talking about Judges.
Well, I think we're a little behind, so let's try to catch up on them.
Okay, try to catch up. Can we try to catch up, guys? Can we try to? I feel like I'm getting behind in my summer reading from high school of doing this show. Sometimes we get so many comments. We got 325 people hanging out after the Niners get the win, 38-10. Over the Arizona Cardinals in Mexico City. I thought it was really cool that they're playing in Mexico City. I think it's a really neat thing. But the only thing I'll say about it is that turf just seems like it was kind of crappy.
Oh, slippery.
And of course then
it was raining. It was raining.
Yeah, and by the way, so I'm trying to decide how I want to wager on that game, and I don't always like to bet on the Niners, but then I figured what the hell, I might as well go for it tonight. I just felt like when the spread kept going up that, it's like the momentum's on their side. It's going to be 85% Niners fans in the house. And I could just feel a big Niner core. And then I saw the numbers that Arizona's had against defending the pass the last month. And I thought, what, Jimmy's going to roll in playing his best football against a horrendous pass D with all these weapons, and they're somehow going to lose. So I took the Niners on the tees, and I went over. And so it was over 35.5 on the tees. So, I mean, over 35.5, that thing was done. I'd won that bet that's how you wager when you can enjoy your winning because you won the entire second half. Maybe you don't make as much money, but still, you instead of having a heart attack sitting there going, oh my God. Because if I had gone the way I was going to go with, which was going to be Niners tees to the under, that last touchdown that could have been a touchdown would have beat me.
Yeah, you'd have been stressing. You would have been like, "Oh, Womack, no, don't pick 6." No,
I know. I was like 1 point ahead of Nick, and I was like, "Kittle, don't fumble, don't fumble."
What, you were ahead in what?
Our league, the fantasy. I was like,
nobody gives a fuck.
Yeah, but nobody cares about your bets either.
Well, but it's the Krueg show, damn it.
Brendel block on the Debo on the TD was freaking awesome. It was, yeah. Brendel was hauling ass out there. I was kind of surprised.
GTC
I stole anonymous
content. Anonymous is content. Shame on you.
Well, who's anonymous? Is it Cassidy?
There's nobody on this show.
Maybe
Andrew Cassidy said this was my take. $5.
Andrew says that was my take, which was.
Can we just do one live stream without there being some accusation of impropriety?
Did the Giants pay for Judge's plane ticket today? That's a good question.
He's at the Regis. I mean, seriously. I mean, I said Mark Hopkins or Fairmont. That's where I would want to go. But someone said I was old. But the thing is, I've been to the Regis, and I don't get it. I'm not seeing it.
Is it the nicer? I don't know exactly where that is with the Regis. I've never been there.
St. Regis or whatever. It's right there on where it's right there by where Canberra used to be, like on Second
Battery
Street.
Street?
Yeah, Second. It's like Second and Mission, Second and Howard, something like that. No, well, maybe it's it's basically right there. Second, I think it's Second. Yeah. You just walk up. It might be third, but it's either second or third.
Did you see that? This is a good question. In May, what will be the harder ticket to get? Giants or Kings? Kings are rolling.
The Warriors gonna wind up with a worse record than the Kings?
No, I don't think
it's early.
I don't think so either, but that would be incredible. All right, we welcome Jordan Elliott to the stream. Jordan saw the show dying and said, you know what? I got to get in there. I got to save that freaking thing. That thing's a sinking ship. Before we get into Jordan, Thomas Scholl donates $4.99. He says, I'm from Linden. His dad was my high school hoops coach for 3 years. I haven't talked to him in a few years, but I think he's coming home. There we go. Now we put that through the Krueg show, meter, and all of a sudden we have breaking news from a source in Linden that Aaron Judge is indeed coming home.
A source close to the family.
A source close to the family broke it exclusively to the Krueg show on YouTube, starring Jordan Elliott.
I wouldn't be surprised if this
Aaron Judge is coming home.
I wouldn't be surprised if they've worked this thing out. I'll tell you why. The Yankees already gave him the offer. He's not going back to the Yankees to shop this offer because he got pretty ticked off at their offer at the beginning of the year for 7 years, $213. Felt underballed and unappreciated. Now he has this incredible monster year. The Yankees give him his deal, so the Giants know what they're playing with. Just go beat it there nicely.
Do you guys remember? Well, first of all, let's welcome in Jordan Elliott.
Yeah,
Jordan, how are you? Jordan, good to see you joining us after the Niners
dark
with a 38-10 victory. I was going to ask, do you guys remember where you were when the Giants signed Barry Bonds?
Dead. Or wait, not
dead?
Not dead. I guess not dead, but just not.
What year were you born?
95.
You were not alive.
Yeah, you weren't dead. You were born. You weren't.
Jordan,
born
you were born
same year,
before or after?
95.
95.
Right?
You were not born. Danny?
What a great year.
Danny, where were you in 1992 when Barry Bonds signed with the Giants?
I was in Southern California, living in Ontario, California. I can't remember exactly where I was, but I do remember 7 years, 43 million or something like that.
Wait. Well, Dan, sorry. But while you're in the middle of that, T said, you skipped my super chat. Broke my heart, Charlie Murphy. Yeah, he said, King Krueg, Lord Middlecoff, Holy Sports of Podcast. I was like, T, are you simultaneously watching our live reaction and the Middlecoff live reaction? Because that's badass.
Jordan, what did you think of the game?
I thought it was a statement victory, and I thought it was the first time this season that we've seen both sides of the ball play to the potential that they have. And I think that it's very indicative of what this team will look like going forward. I don't think they're going to score 38 every week, nor do I think they'll win by 28. But I think that we will see much more complementary football with both sides of the ball pulling equal weight. And I think the 49ers are in a spot now where I have a hard time seeing them relinquishing control of first place in the NFC West. And I think that they have kind of taken the baton from Seattle, and I don't see them handing it back anytime soon or at all this season.
I tweeted earlier that I think Lynch is an executive of the year if the Niners go to the Super Bowl for the way he played his hand on this McCaffrey thing. One, McCaffrey was the perfect player for this head coach. He was the perfect player for this offense, but most importantly, he was the absolutely perfect player for Jimmy Garoppolo's skill set. And I just think that, we talk about the Niners offense. I think they're sixth in the league coming into today in points per game since they had acquired Christian McCaffrey. So it's now probably top 5 after a game like this. So offensively, I just think, Lynch, that if he goes to the Rams, They probably lose that game to the Rams where McCaffrey dominated down there, and this whole season could have spiraled away. Instead, he makes the trade. He paid a high price, but he got an outstanding player who, has absolutely fits this offense to perfection. But I think what he's really done, he's given Garoppolo a whole new value. And I'm eager to see if Jimmy can ride this wave all the way through to the bowl. What do you guys think?
Absolutely. I think so I said it after the Carolina game that he looks the best that I've ever seen him. And it was something that got some pushback at first because it had been so soon and people have a much larger sample of Jimmy. But I don't know how you guys feel. Ignoring all the box score numbers and graphics and stats that get thrown out there, just watching the game film every week, as I've done for years, I can't remember a time where I have as frequently smashed the space bar on my computer, jammed to the rewind button, and rewatched a play because my jaw literally dropped watching Jimmy Garoppolo make a throw where I'm like, holy hell, did Jimmy Garoppolo just do that? I haven't seen him do it in this is year 6 now in San Francisco. I can't remember a time where I was so wowed by some of the things he was doing. And I think, unfortunately, there's still this stigma that he's just the game manager. He's just the guy that's, he's getting pulled by the skill position guys. He's not making other people better. All of those things, frankly, this year are invalid. And I think there's a very strong case to be made. I don't know if you saw it all. I tweeted it a few days ago. I think there's a very strong case to be made that based on quarterback play in this season alone, Jimmy Garoppolo is top 10. And to think of that when just 2 months ago, he was seemingly on the trading block where we were wondering if they might release him for nothing in return. And now he's playing like a guy who's a top 10 quarterback. It's absolutely incredible.
The releasing him part, that, we really haven't revisited that.
Yeah.
But there were an awful lot of people who were in the release him mode. I never was in that camp. I always looked at him as an asset that was tradable. And to me, I'm not saying that I envisioned a bounce back season like this, because I didn't, especially after that Denver game where he looked, like a step slow and maybe he hadn't been working all that hard. And he just didn't look right in this offense early on. But now it's like he's just playing the best football. He's going on to the next play. He's minimizing his negative plays. And he's just seemed like he's found a whole different level. And is this the Jimmy we're going to get the rest of the year? I mean, that's the question. Or are we going to look at a game in 2 weeks where he throws 3 picks and single-handedly loses the game? Because it seems like he's graduated beyond that Jimmy. And he seems like he's now a guy who's willing to just throw it into the turf and go on to the next down.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he's gonna have another game where he does something. Oh, I think we lost Stan. He's gonna have another game where he, does the dumb Jimmy throw. I mean, he even had a few in the Rams game, I guess, that you could say could have been caught by Ramsey, but still, even in the Rams game, other than that, I thought he was really good. And then even going back to the Chiefs game, that was a tough one because they lost, and then the Chiefs just, they just turned on the accelerator, and it just was just such bad vibes after that game. But watching the game, I thought he played pretty well. And I think you bring up a great point about the tape, Jordan. What's weird is I heard a lot of national media people, guys that I listen to all the time, like Bill Simmons, or even just the super casual, Part of My Take. And they were kind of ripping Jimmy's performance last week. And it was just weird because having not listened to any of the commentary on the TV, Larry and I were both sitting next to each other at the game, and we were like, wow, it just seems like he's really he's making quick decisions. And even when it comes to throwing the ball away, he was throwing the ball away in an accurate fashion, not throwing it where it could potentially anything bad could happen. It just seemed like everything was clicking. And yeah, it seems like McCaffrey might be what we were sort of all thinking, which is their best receiver, their best route runner, just in terms of just consistency and reliability and hands and all of that kind of stuff. It's so kind of cool the way that it's settling in with Mitchell and McCaffrey. And then now it's just the occasional Debo run. And he had the home run today, which we haven't seen out of the running game, it seems like, in a long time. So yeah, just good vibes all around.
Garoppolo last week, I just wanted to look up the stat because it's totally what you're talking about. Garoppolo 8 of 10 for 108 yards. He had that one drop on third downs against the Chargers. third down's the quarterback down. If you're playing well on third down, you're typically playing the position at a pretty high level.
And that's what they were struggling with. Like it was like the third down in the red zone. And then it was like that I think we were all kind of saying like McCaffrey coming, like the biggest boost it's going to be is like on third down, those critical downs in the red zone. And they've been a little inconsistent in the red zone, but I mean, this third down production is pretty crazy.
It's funny. I love the Niners if they can get like first and goal inside like the 3, because Garoppolo's such a good quarterback sneaker that you have a myriad of options there. And you can always, if you can make 2 yards, you can push through with him usually. And I like them when you back them up, let's say to the 9 or 10 or deeper, because they've got a lot of weapons in the passing game. It's that in-between area that they seem like they struggle with. And maybe that will change with Elijah Mitchell, playing more. Jordan, what did you think? And we talked about this earlier of Shanahan's usage of his backs tonight, where he almost went exclusively to a passing game with McCaffrey in the first half. Elijah Mitchell was a much more significant role player in that second half. What did you think of the way he did that?
So I had an interesting conversation, and they're always interesting whenever I have the chance to speak with Vish, as I'm sure you feel the same way. Sure. I was talking to Vish earlier this week, and I told him, there's this. I had a hard time trying to like quantify what I was thinking, but when we were talking about the usage between the two backs, and to me it felt like the 49ers are running a lot more gap scheme stuff this year, right? They're pulling guys way more often. They're running a lot more power. And I feel like Mitchell is a guy where when he just has to kind of feel things like that out, and he's in traffic and he's operating, in my opinion, more off instinct rather than seeing a gap, predetermining it, pressing it, and having the, even though it's all compressed in a very short amount of time, obviously, he's somebody to me that when you put him in those tight spots, he just has a natural feel for running between the tackles. And not that McCaffrey doesn't, but I think it's an area where Mitchell really excels. So I think when they are pivoting towards that power, where they're running counter a ton, and they're going to start pulling Burford and Banks and really starting to play that kind of smash mouth, wearing a team down in the second half, brand of football, I think Mitchell fits perfectly in with that, where you still have the threat of McCaffrey stressing defenses horizontally and vertically too. And he's running routes, he can press defenses vertically as well. But I just think that like the skill set that Mitchell brings is perfect for the way that this offense has evolved from what was once predominantly aggressive outside zone, a lot of mid zone, to where now, like I said, like I haven't done the actual numbers, so I could be off, but I went back and started to chart some of these games, and they're running counter more than they're running anything else. And it's really impressive the way that they've seamlessly not missed a beat while kind of completely revamping the running game under Shanahan. So I just think that the way they're utilizing them fits perfectly for this transition, if that makes sense.
I was listening for a few minutes to my good friend Kyle Madsen and Alan Stiles at 95.7 The Game. They were doing their post game. Madsen made a point that really kind of opened my eyes. He said he felt like this was one of the best games ever of the Kyle Shanahan era. Like maybe it was, I don't know I don't want to misquote him, but I thought he said it was like their best win of the Shanahan era. I don't know that I would go that far, but I do think if you look at like the box score in this game, Jimmy Garoppolo, 4 passing touchdowns, no turnovers. The Niners had exactly the balance that Kyle covets, 29 pass attempts, 28 rushing attempts. They ran for 5.7 a carry in those 28 rushing attempts. So not only did they have perfect balance, but they ran with, peak efficiency. Then you mix in 2 touchdowns for Kittle, 2 touchdowns for Ayuk, a touchdown for Debo. They really spread the ball around. If Madsen was talking from that perspective, I totally agree that this was, I think if you ask Kyle Shanahan, he would say, that one of his more enjoyable games, because I think many of the things that he likes to do, he got done here. He normally likes to get to 30 rushes, but he'll take the balance in a game like this where Arizona possessed the ball for quite a bit.
Yeah, I thought that from like what Jordan was saying in terms of like the all-around game, they finally put it together, the offense and the defense. But to your point, Larry, and to Kyle Madsen's point, if you kind of run up and down, not just the offense and the defense, but you take into account play calling, both in offensively and defensively. And then you go just player by player, position group by position group. Everyone kind of had a good game. Everyone on the offense ate for the most part. I mean, McCaffrey was like the only one without a touchdown, and he was awesome. I think he had 7 targets, caught all of them. And he was still
McGlinchey
great.
gave up no pressures.
No
He
pressure.
struggled at times this year. He didn't seem like,
And-
he had a, you didn't hear his name being called. Yeah, there were Jaguayo 56 donates $2. He says Shanahan unleashed James Richard Garoppolo.
James Ritchie.
Thank you, Jaguayo.
Oh, also credit Jordan Elliott. I liked the tweet, but 3 straight games with a 0 points allowed in the second half.
Yeah, what do you think of that as far as D'Amico's defense? I mean, I thought Givens was extraordinary tonight. Al-Shaair had just a monster hit. Greenlaw was throwing his body around. I thought, Colt McCoy had about 3 or 5. I thought I was watching the Vlade Divac out there. I mean, I've never seen anybody flop around like a fish like Colt McCoy. I just felt like they barely hit him, and he just was every time with the histrionics and his arms flailing. And it's just like, I thought like I was watching somebody trying to sell, a basketball, official on a foul. What'd you think of the defensive effort?
It's been exceptional, phenomenal. I'm running out of adjectives to properly describe how they've played, especially in the second half of these games. You know what I would equate it to? I'm not the biggest boxing guy, so I apologize if this isn't the best reference or analogy, but it feels almost like one of those great boxers who, maybe in the early rounds, takes a couple hits and is kind of feeling out their opponent before they just really dominate and deliver that knockout blow. And that's what it feels like, where Ryans is so good at kind of getting a feel for what an opposing team's game plan is early on and seeing which ways they might be attacking, what they're trying to exploit, and then whatever they're doing in the locker room at halftime, whatever they're doing on the drawing board there, it's working every single week. And it's just incredible to think about that in this day and age in the NFL, that 3 straight games the team hasn't gotten a single point against this defense. Especially with the Rams and the game tonight being so out of hand, you'd think at some point like they're going to get garbage time points, which Arizona almost did today. Samuel Womack kept that streak alive with that interception, but the yardage was a little bit different today, and I think it's skewed because so much of it did come with Trace McSorley in at quarterback. But in the previous 2 games, they'd only allowed 95 total yards between the Chargers and Rams in the second half. Like they haven't been just good, like they've been like heroic in the second half of these games. And I think like looking at the defense from top to bottom, all 11 players, like who's the weakest link? Like maybe you'd say it's like Lenore, the young corner who doesn't have as much starting experience as the other guys. And he was fantastic tonight. So even when you're looking at what arguably is the like weak link out of the whole group, when that person is playing at the level that Lenore did tonight, how are you supposed to beat these guys? And then you have the flip side. You have to, you're playing a Pro Bowl skill position group on the other side of the ball. It's just my takeaway after tonight with the defense and the whole picture is just, I don't see a more complete team in the NFC. And I know the records matter and the Niners are going to have to go on the road because they fumbled a couple games earlier in the season. But if I'm Dallas, if I'm Minnesota, if I'm Philadelphia, this is the last team I want to see, because I just think they play a style of football that is very unique in the modern NFL. So many of these teams don't have a pass rush like the 49ers. So many of these teams don't have linebackers that can cover like the 49ers. And I just think they're built in a way that makes them a difficult matchup for anybody that they come up against.
Glass half full guy donates $1.99. He says, was Danny on a Zoom call with Aaron Judge? LOL. Dan. So yeah, Dan, don't divulge just yet, because we also want to hear a bit more about your fantasy team in a little bit. I would say that, the one thing about this game that was also pretty intriguing is that, the 49ers now look like they're clearly building momentum, and we know what standards they have. You talked about how nobody wants them. Let's throw it back at the chat here. And you guys, who's the last team you want? Who's the team you don't want in the NFC? Obviously the 49ers, from the 49er perspective, who's the team that they match up with the least in your mind? Are you intimidated by Dallas and the explosive nature of their club, or is it more about, Philly and Hurts and, Brown and some of the thing, the Phillies really strong on both sides of the line of scrimmage, especially their offensive line. Who's the scariest team in the NFC?
I think I'd have to still say Philly, although the fact that they've been getting run on lately makes me feel a little bit better about the Niners' chances. But that said, they did just bring in Sue, and they are still getting Jordan Davis back. So I think it would have to be Philly by default. But honestly, I kind of think Philly and Dallas similar. Although, I don't know. Don't you get the feeling that Mike McCarthy... there's just something. I just think
you can run on Dallas.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe because I saw the Niners do it last year. I just think the Niners can run on Dallas. I think they can play more efficient football than Dallas. I think they can play more mistake-free football than Dallas if Jimmy continues to play at this level where he just, I see real growth in Garoppolo. We're not seeing the huge negative plays that get you beat. And that's really the key to his game. Just don't make the super negative play every game, and you're on a good enough team where you may win a Super Bowl. So
Yeah.
it's to me, I think that's significant growth. My question is, can this 49er defense against the better offensive teams and the better quarterbacks close down that space, play really good defense? There are no gimmies when you get to the playoffs. You're going to get either Kirk Cousins in Minnesota and Jefferson and they're locked in, or you're going to get, Dak and and Lamb and Zeke and their crazy pass rush in Dallas. So I think I would rather play the Cowboys than the Vikings, just because there's something about, there's something about Cousins to Jefferson that's really unstoppable. But I don't know. Then there's something about Cousins that tells me that he doesn't win any big games. So I probably have more confidence in Dak than Kirk Cousins winning a big game.
You also got to look at it. If they play Dallas, if they hold on to the division, it'll be at home. Dallas won't, will be the wild card. The Niners can only hope to maybe try and catch Minnesota for the 2 spot. I don't know what Minnesota's upcoming schedule looks like, but I'm sure they've got, those division games aren't gimmies anymore. Green Bay looks like the weak link right now in the division, but and I think they've already played Minnesota, Green Bay twice. So you got the Bears and the Lions could upset them, plus any other teams they've got. So I don't know. I don't. None of them really scare me. The problem is Philadelphia. You probably have to play them on a cold January. Cold day in January.
Jordan, who do you prefer?
So I have a team that I would be worried about that isn't any of those 3 that I think is lurking and is going to make a surge down.
Wait. Let's guess.
The
Jordan's
Bucks.
Team.
The Bucks.
Bucks? Really?
Yeah.
Look at Danny.
The Tampa Bay Tom Brady's terrify me, because any team that has a Tom Brady that is motivated and a Tom Brady in the month of January is the last team I want to play. And I just think that while their defense is hurting a little bit without Shaq Barrett, I think there's championship pedigree there. I think Vita Vea is one of the most underrated players in the entire NFL. What he's able to do, not only but stuffing the run. He's a Bay Area guy. Shout out to him. I always, like to see the guys from our area do well. That Tampa Bay is a team that I think that would be a phenomenal storyline, right? Could you imagine, a Jimmy G, Tom Brady playoff game with both of those teams squaring off? I think the storylines would write themselves. But, when you look at Philly, like, I agree with 100% with you, Larry. They're so good on both the offensive and defensive line that I think that keeps them in contention in any game. But against that Colts team, which has a respectable defense, watching that game, every time they got in 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, it felt like, and you knew they had to throw the ball. They did not look like the same team whatsoever. And I think the 49ers are a team that's shown they could win those early downs and force a team to throw. So that's where I kind of wouldn't be as concerned if I am a 49ers fan, just because I think that as good as Jalen Hurts has played, I think a lot of their successes come from being in 3rd and short so often that you have to respect the threat of the read option. You have to respect the threat of them handing the ball off and grinding out those yards on the ground. And then with Minnesota, as good as they've played at times, I just, I don't think that that's a situation where you're overly concerned about Kirk Cousins being able to deal with that 49ers pass rush for 4 quarters, right? And, Dallas is kind of a similar thing to me, where I think as good as they are on paper and as talented as they are, I just don't think they're a good matchup for the 49ers. So the team, again, I just keep coming back to is Tampa Bay. And I just think that Tom Brady's a guy, until proven otherwise, you never bet against Tom Brady. And it's just a situation where it feels like it's the perfect storm brewing now, where they're quietly going to run away with just an awful
Jordan. Would you rather because the Niners play them later this year? Would you be more scared if the Niners win that game or if they lose that game?
I personally don't really put much stock into like winning or losing, because I know a lot of times people think that like, they have it figured out, they won, or they're going to take them lightly the next time. I think they're smart enough to know that, again, it's Tom Brady. It's a championship caliber team. Todd Bowles is really good at what he does. Kyle Shanahan and Todd Bowles squaring off is another matchup that would be fantastic. I think it'll be a great preview of what is potentially to come, Ryan, but this team is too battle tested. And I think that that's something that gets kind of lost in the weeds because they haven't won that Super Bowl yet. But the majority of the players on this roster have at least tasted an NFC championship. A few of them did make it to the Super Bowl who are still here. So I think there's a lot of maturity in that room where they know what happens in the first 17 games isn't going to translate to what happens come, January when those teams have to. But perfect example is, that game that they played at home against Green Bay in week 3, I think it was last year, was nothing like the game they ultimately played at Lambeau in January. So I think they have plenty of evidence to kind of know not to read too much into that, if that makes sense.
He's got a lot of weapons that are dangerous in the red zone. Mike Evans, Godwin, Scotty Miller. I mean, I know Gage is hurt, but he's a good receiver. I mean, they don't have great tight ends. Cameron Brate's just okay, but they do have Rudolph. They've gotten Rashad White running the ball. Defensively, they're just a really good-looking team, especially if they're healthy on the backside, because you got, Murphy Bunting, you got Carlton Davis, Antoine Winfield, Mike Edwards from Kentucky, Jamel Dean. I mean, that's a pretty good secondary right there. And then I think Devin White is as good a linebacker as there is in the league, and they brought in Akeem Hicks from the Bears. So you got Vita Vea and Akeem Hicks inside. Yeah, I like them. That wasn't the team I thought you were going to say. I thought you were going to say, wait a second here. I thought you were going to say the Washington Commanders, because Taylor Heineke right now is not, he's not a great quarterback, but he's clearly a pretty good leader. And they've got a 2-headed back of, with some size there, and Antonio Gibson and Brian Robinson. And they've got some pretty good weapons, scary Terry McLaurin and Gibson out of the backfield, and Jahan Dotson's getting healthy. And then they've got that front that can disrupt you anytime. I mean, Jonathan Allen had 2 sacks this week. Montez Sweat had 2 sacks this week. Those 2 guys combined for 6 hits on the quarterback. Deron Payne got a sack this week. I mean, they had 9 hits on Davis Mills in that Texans game. So I don't know. I see the Texans game as far more difficult than I thought it was at the beginning of the year. And they're to me a team that I wouldn't want to play. I think they've got some momentum right now.
Yeah.
Did you guys see? I mean, granted, it's Houston, but you guys saw the Texans last week, pull the up. I mean, the Commanders last week pull the upset of Philly. They're coming together as a football team, and there's some talent there, especially on their defensive front. And, that concerns me a little bit. I don't know that I'd want to play them.
Well, what was it? 2 years ago, they made the playoffs, and then last year they were favored. It seems crazy now, but last year they were favored coming into the year to win the NFC East. So that's like when we did our team picks, like I think I picked them with my last picks. I was just like, I still kind of remember the hype train before the season last year with the defense. And then Heineke just seems to be the exact opposite of Carson Wentz. No pedigree, but just an absolute guy's guy who he fires everyone up, and he has some juice. You see, he got fined for drinking beers on the way home from the victory after the Eagles game. So just a dude.
Mr. NorCal, Dallas is the only team that can compete with the 49ers. I don't know about that. I think, the way the NFL is, you have 10 possessions. You turn the ball over a couple times. It's the all-time equalizer. You just never know. The one thing I was really impressed with tonight, we talked to him last week, but Samuel Womack is really coming on. And, I don't want to say the injuries are a blessing in disguise, but anything that gets him more run on the field may wind up being a blessing in disguise because he's got great ball skills. He's got great speed. He's not afraid. He's a young guy, but this guy went from a walk-on to all conference. So he's been on the bottom and he's worked his way to the top. And we talked to him the last couple of weeks. He's confident. He's calm. He's healthy. He's focused. He's getting an opportunity here. I would not be surprised if he gets a couple big picks down the stretch. He's playing at a really high level, and not just from scrimmage. Heck, we saw him do it on special teams. Guy made 2 plays, downing balls inside the 5.
Oh yeah. Also, who was that today? Was that Tarvarius Moore?
Tarvarius made 1, and then the other one he slid into the end zone.
Yeah, that was a brutal break. That was just like if not for the rain before the game, that would have been a great play.
So, Jordan, what do you think as far as the 49ers, go from here? I mean, do you think this team's about to take off? Do you see it? Do you see any bumps in the road? What's the big subplot out of this one? There wasn't a major injury. Doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of controversy. It seems like a team that's kind of building momentum in the NFC. What's the storyline going to be this week?
I just think, can you come back and win a game that you're supposed to win against New Orleans? And New Orleans had a very impressive win over the Rams. I think that they're a team that they have some dangerous skill position guys like Chris Olave. Alvin Kamara is obviously somebody you always have to prepare for. But tonight was a game the 49ers should win. I don't like relying simply on betting lines, but they were 8.5-point favorites for a reason. I believe they're opening at 8 against the Saints this weekend. And taking the human element into account, it's a shorter week. They're flying back from a different country where they just kind of, it's like that Beatles effect almost. Like I can only imagine the experience those guys had down there in front of hundreds of thousands of screaming fans who only get to experience football like that every so often. It's not the same. No offense to the crowd at Levi's. It's just a different atmosphere. So I could see there being a little bit of a letdown that naturally stems from the wear and tear of playing a game like that with that much energy and then coming back on the short week. So I think the thing to watch this week is how do they perform in a game that they, again, should win against New Orleans. Hey, if they win by 1 point or they win by 30, it doesn't matter. A win's a win to me. But that's not a game they can afford to drop with the way the schedule shakes out down the stretch. And I think the subplot to watch is how can they continue to build that division lead leading up to their last matchup of the season with the Seahawks, because I think that what they've done is admirable after trading away the best quarterback they've ever had. And, what everybody thought they were going to win 3 games this year, they were able to, come out and win 6 pretty early. I just don't see Seattle holding on to, a very competitive race down the stretch here. And I think the 49ers would be very well served to build on that lead. I believe they have a half game, or they have the same record.
Same record, but better division
tiebreaker. They have the ability now to continue building that lead, because I do see Seattle with a couple more tough games they have left to play. They still haven't played Kansas City yet. I think that, the 49ers should win that game when they play again. Again, if we're talking based on talent, but that stadium up there in Seattle, whatever that Lumen Field, whatever the hell they're calling it now, has been a house of horrors for this team. And I just think they'd be much better served putting themselves in a position where this isn't a game that's getting flexed into Sunday Night Football, because the stake of, the NFC West is on the line. But
it's actually a Thursday night, so it'll be a short week.
It's Thursday. Okay, yeah, so it won't get flexed. Yeah. That's the biggest thing to me, is just building on the division lead that you now have. Don't look back. Don't give this young upstart Seattle team a chance to, pull off one of the more, unforeseen seasons I can remember in NFL history,
Hey, let me ask you guys a tough question. We always look at things from the 49er perspective, but were we seeing the end of the Cliff Kingsbury era in Arizona? I mean, he's been there now 4 years. He's sub 500. They did win 11 games last year, but there was something about, I watched his post game tonight, and go next time, tomorrow or later tonight when we're done here, you guys check out Kingsbury in the post game. He just seemed really defeated. Really, I don't know. I would not be surprised at all if he was not there.
Next week.
As soon as tomorrow, I would not be surprised if they dumped Kingsbury. I don't know. I just had this vibe about him, and it just had this where you go from here kind of a
Well, didn't the
feel to
Niners
it.
get somebody fired earlier this year after beating?
Yeah, Matt Rule.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
that's right.
Yeah,
They
Matt
fired
Rule. So
I mean,
What do you
maybe-
think? I mean, I don't know where Kingsbury is in those odds, but
Next
it just doesn't. It just seems like I don't. What are they building there? I mean, I don't. I've been watching them on the Hard Knocks. It just doesn't seem like they're like he's the right guy for them. I don't know. I mean, there's Steve Keim. He's there. He's been there. There's a lot of instability, with that franchise. So maybe they just need to sit with one guy for years and years. But I don't
Bring
know.
in Kurt Warner.
I get dead man walking vibes from Kingsbury's post game tonight. Did anybody else see it?
I saw bits, just a little bits of him talking. He did look a little down. He kind of got their butts kicked. I mean, totally just a complete butt kick in tonight. I mean, so not a whole lot you can really say when you get beat that bad on both sides of the ball. You just have to kind of give credit to the Niners. They're also, I don't think he's a great coach personally.
They make a lot of mistakes. I think they lead the NFL in penalties.
They have, they're very undisciplined, but they have had like tons of injuries to key guys. I mean, first Hopkins was out suspended, then he comes back and Hollywood Brown goes down, and then Hollywood Brown's expected back next week. Rondale Moore goes out tonight, and then they lost Ertz. So then Murray. So they have never played a game this year with their full arsenal of weapons.
What do you think, Jordan?
It's so funny. So I was at the Combine a few months back, and I remember I'm walking by. It's like 7:30 in the morning, and I'm with my buddy, and we're walking through the convention center to drop our stuff off in the media room. And we walked right past Cliff Kingsbury, and this guy was smiling ear to ear. He looked like how I look when I leave the blackjack table up, just that elation that it's palpable in the room. And I'm like, what's going on with this guy? Like something's up. And then literally 10 minutes later, I got a notification on my phone. It was Schefter Rappaport, one of those guys that he just got inked to an extension. And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, hey, I'm not going to knock anybody in this business getting their money for the amount of hours they put in. But I remember in that moment coming off that 11-win season, like they extended Cliff Kingsbury. Like, what the hell are they thinking? Like, I mean, I know they had a good year, but he's proven time and time again that they can't sustain these seasons. And he did the same thing at Texas Tech where they start out great and they falter down the stretch. So I remember sitting there, I'm like, all right, well, they must feel great about something because I feel like, money talks and it's really hard to pay a coach to not coach for you. Eventually teams that get pushed to the, brink will do that. But I just have a hard time. I think all the points you made are great. And I think if you took money out of the equation, absolutely. Like there's no justification to continue. It's clearly not working there. And they were a Raiders monumental collapse where they were up. I think it was like 17-0 in the third quarter, away from being 3-8 this season. So the only reason why, Larry, I think they might be hesitant to get rid of him is simply based on the fact that they just inked him to an extension. And I feel like there's nothing that even though they're billionaires and they have all this money, I feel like there's nothing that these professional sports owners hate more than writing checks to people that aren't in the building anymore. And I just feel like they'll find a way to, I don't want to say justify it because I think that Dan made good points that they haven't been completely whole, but there will be a way for them to spin it internally as, we need another year and Kyler needs another year to grow. And, I just don't know how, if you're a Cardinals fan, you're able to stomach it because I think the guy's been in over his head since day one. And I think a lot of his shortcomings have been masked by a quarterback that's able to improvise on the fly and by a tremendous job of Vance Joseph calling that defense. So I logically, everything you said, Larry, I completely agree with. I just think the money's ultimately going to talk, which is why I don't see them doing it quite yet.
Let me ask you one more. I'm watching the Warrior.
Wait, what?
Go ahead.
I think I did hear that maybe that contract was a little bit of smoke and mirrors. Like they can get off him and it's not all guaranteed, which you don't normally see with a coach's contract.
Well, and the other thing I'll say about coaches is that there's so much money in the NFL right now that teams have more freedom to dump coaching staffs quicker because they have so much money coming in from the TV deals that it creates this, wealth of, and freedom to be able to pay off. There's many teams in the league that are paying off coaches that don't work for them. The 49ers are in an interesting situation now because they're this team that has this great young quarterback they hope for the future, and you're hearing incredible things about him developing even throughout this injury-filled season where he's spending a lot of time, and every time they're turning around, they're hailing Trey as being this great taking on the injury season with total professionalism. Then you've got Garoppolo playing at this maybe the best level he's played at. If Jimmy goes on and wins the Super Bowl, and then there's still people out there who are claiming that Tom Brady will finish in San Francisco with the 49ers. But I was going to say Wednesday, I saw Jimmy at the game, or whatever night it was. He was at the Warrior game, and he's there with McCaffrey and Kittle and Juszczyk, and he just looks like, he's one of the boys. He's having a good time. That's the same vibe that he sends off in the locker room as just, a guy who's very comfortable in the room. He's on a team that he loves being on. And I'm just kind of wondering if he wins the Super Bowl, do you think they would bring him back? Or do you think they're so, on the, the Trey plan is the plan that Jimmy's here for 1 year regardless? Because it's like, I understand the game plan. I know what was the thinking going into it, but now I'm looking at this going, he fits this team like a glove. The players love him. It's hard to develop the kind of feeling that the 49er offensive players have for Jimmy Garoppolo. Not every team can replicate that. Clearly, he seems like he's like a pig in slop. He's so happy around these guys. If they're successful, will they pull the plug? I mean, are we definitely looking at the final year of Jimmy, or is this TBD? What do you guys think?
Or is it TBD?
How can we even figure that out when we just thought he was like all summer long, he was for sure gone. Now we're in week 11. I don't think you can even begin to think where Jimmy's going to be at this point. I think you just got to let the season play itself out before you even start trying to surmise where he'll be.
I worry about the injuries. I think for that reason, you can't sign him long-term.
Well, so this is the thing too, right? So I fully admit after the 2020 season, I was one of the loudest proponents you would ever hear that it was time to get a new quarterback and move on. And it just wasn't enough. And the unavailability was a problem. But now that we have 2 years removed from that and we have the power of hindsight, like, I was thinking earlier when Larry was talking about McCaffrey, like, if I'm the 49ers and I'm, if I'm John Lynch or Kyle Shanahan and I'm having a, glass of scotch and a moment of reflection, I'm honestly wondering if they didn't need to move, 3 first-round picks to get a quarterback. If getting a guy like McCaffrey was really what they needed to allow this offense to operate at the efficiency we've seen. And again, I say that as somebody who's speaking purely on hindsight. And they need to draft a quarterback. They need to get a Matthew Stafford. They need to get some kind of upgrade. But all those things Larry just said are completely true. And we always have to remember that you're dealing with human beings playing this sport, right? So how do you go if the 49ers go on this miraculous run, they win a Super Bowl, Jimmy plays like he's played the last few weeks, and he's not only not a detriment to the team, but he's a major part of them winning? How do you look at that locker room full of veterans that have finally tasted that success and finally got over the hump? And they say, all right, great. Now we're going back to the guy who has 4 career NFL starts and is going to take a lot of time to develop and probably is going to have a bunch of growing pains. And I just don't see how that's a seamless transition. I think they absolutely believe in Trey Lance. I think that they absolutely believe in their process of selecting him. But I think the fact that there's this notion that, oh, well, it's just Jimmy's gone no matter what. And it's Trey. They invested all this into Trey and it's going to be Trey regardless. I don't think it's that seamless. I think that it was a hard sell to begin with. I think a lot of players weren't on board with the move when they made it. And the fact that Jimmy's now playing as well as he's playing and putting them in a position to be a contender. Again, how do you look a locker room full of guys who've been there and done that and have been a part of this league for a long time and convince them that they're better off without the guy that they just won a Super Bowl with? I don't think it's as easy as a lot of people are making it out to be.
You know what, Jordan? That perspective makes me think, maybe if they do win the Super Bowl, you know what? Maybe they still do move off Jimmy, but you're so right. It's going to be tough to sell the Trey Lance kind of going back to training wheels on the offense or whatever. But the only way they may be able to get around that is if they bring in like a TB12 or a Rodgers, somebody that is so undeniable and has such a pedigree that all of a sudden you can kind of rationalize it, especially if Jimmy gets like a massive offer from, like, let's say the Jets try and offer him some crazy deal for 5 years. Then
here's the question. Is
Mark
it more
Mack.
likely that you'd see Jimmy back? I mean, if Jimmy wins the Super Bowl, is he back at that point? Is it more likely that he would return, or would the 49ers feel like, okay, mission accomplished, now we can go with Trey and maybe take some lumps because, heck, we just won the Super Bowl and, nobody's going to expect us to win it back to back? Or do you, if you fall short of the Super Bowl, do you go to like a Tom Brady next year and make Trey kind of, sit another year behind Brady? I mean, it's really it's a really interesting soap opera. And if it wasn't quarterback and it wasn't so important, it would be another thing. But I mean,
they may not have a choice. Jimmy may win the Super Bowl and say, F you guys. I mean, you got what you put me through.
And then exactly. You're right, Danny. But then the other thing is, if you're Jimmy, he just looks so far away from doing that. I mean, if he won the Super Bowl with these guys, he's playing for the San Francisco 49ers and he's got these great relationships. To me, if I'm Jimmy Garoppolo, based on what I've seen the last month, I don't want to play any more football games ever again without Christian McCaffrey. Because Christian McCaffrey, Jordan,
right.
Before you popped on, we were talking about that one sequence in the first half where Jimmy literally did what we never see him do. And that's kind of go through his progressions 1, 2, and 3. None of them were open. And then he wasn't getting rushed. And then so he's standing there and he's still looking around. Then he starts to feel some rush. And then he just kind of leans over to the side and dumps it to McCaffrey. And McCaffrey got like 8 or 12 yards or whatever it was. And the play was saved from a negative play to safety valve right there. Boop, McCaffrey. I just think McCaffrey makes Garoppolo a significantly better player.
Yeah, and I would agree with you. And I think it's just like you mentioned, it's perfect. Like the team right now around him is perfect for what he wants to do. And I think it's also maybe not the ideal, perfect, best case scenario for what Shanahan wants to run, but the majority of Shanahan's philosophy is rooted in that traditional West Coast offense. And I think that it's so easy to get enamored with Mahomes and Herbert and Josh Allen making all these incredible throws 30 yards downfield. And I enjoy watching those as much as anybody, but I try to remind myself that a lot of this offense that Kyle's running is based on 3-step drops, 5-step drops, getting the ball out quickly, a timing, rhythm-based offense where you're allowing your playmakers to create after the catch, which we saw, Kittle was the first game I can remember in a while where there was a handful of plays where Kittle really had an opportunity to show what he can do after the catch. You have guys like Debo Samuel bowling over defenders at the second level. So I just think that when you add McCaffrey into the mix, it gives them something that I think Kyle wanted and they potentially could have had with Jerick McKinnon if it wasn't for some unfortunate injuries. And that's just a true receiving threat that can keep defenses in their base personnel based on the threat of the run while still being a viable option out of the backfield and getting the ability to isolate on linebackers and run these choice routes that they love running and be that big. I think I have to go back and double check, but I'm pretty sure he ran a slant out of the top of the formation. He was the number 1 receiver to the sideline on a slant on third down.
Yeah.
So it's like he's giving you something that you've never really had at that position. They've had some great runners of the football since Kyle's been there, but they haven't had a truly dynamic talent like that because there, quite frankly, aren't many Christian McCaffrey level talents in the NFL that can do what he does. So
he's the ultimate weapon. I mean,
yeah,
he really is. I mean,
what do you think of George Costanza 6.0? He says trade Trey Lance while he still has that third draft pick overall player value before he proves he's a bust while we still can.
You know what I want? I want like
not a big Trey believer, I guess.
If I was like some crappy team like the Texans, maybe I just trade. I somehow like parlay my first round pick into, I just have like a Hunger Games type situation where I bring in all of these failing quarterbacks from the class. Basically, I'll bring them all in except for, I guess you probably couldn't get Justin Fields or Lawrence, but I just bring in Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, Mac Jones, David, and then you got David Smith, and just have them battle it out.
Well, I'll tell you right now, how about this? If the Jets called you tomorrow and said, hey, you know what? Zach Wilson, with what he said, just basically made his ticket out of town. We'll give you Zach Wilson and Elijah Moore, who also I don't know if you saw Elijah Moore in the game against the Jets yesterday, but he ran out of bounds. So the people of New York have just had it with Elijah Moore. We'll give you Elijah Moore, Zach Wilson, and a future number 1 for Trey Lance. Do you do it?
I mean, Kyle could turn around.
Number 1.
Future number 1 draft choice, Elijah Moore and Zach Wilson for Trey Lance. You're the Jets at the end of the year. You make that move?
I think the real question is, did the Niners make that move? And I think that they might.
I think the Niners might make that move.
I think Lynch wanted Wilson.
I think Shanahan wanted Wilson.
He could turn Wilson around, I think, Shanahan. But
what do you think, Jordan? And Elijah Moore is an incredible receiver. I don't know what's going on in New York this year. I don't know what the deal is there. All I know is I saw him at Ole Miss. I know he can play. I would take him in a heartbeat.
I don't think the Jets would give that much up, though.
I do. Once you need a young quarterback, and look at this year's draft, Trey Lance would probably be one of the top quarterbacks taken.
I think the Jets are going for a veteran quarterback in the offseason. They're pretty well. I mean, they're building something there, and they need a quarterback.
But it's a young team. They may want their young quarterback in the future. I'm just saying, if the Jets were interested in Trey Lance, it's a projection. Who knows how all these teams have these players evaluated? But Jordan, what do you think? Would you make that trade? Would you be intrigued by that trade? Zach Wilson, a future number 1, and the Ole Miss receiver Elijah Moore?
If I was the 49ers, I would probably the reason why I would feel comfortable doing that isn't because I would believe in Zach Wilson or his ability to be, turned into something competent at this point. And I like Zach Wilson a lot coming out. He had a very impressive string of games at BYU. His college tape looked good. His arm talent looked great. But again, we were just talking about, if you were in a position where you're like, hey, you know what, Jimmy Garoppolo found something and we feel like he's our best option moving forward, I would do it simply to get Elijah Moore in the future first back, because if you're not going to put Trey Lance on the field for the remainder of his rookie contract, you're just losing value. And if you would be able to recoup what I believe is a starting caliber receiver, I think Elijah Moore is fantastic. I think that I don't know where the disconnect is, but I think he's one of those guys where all of a sudden they get moved to a change of state, like Kadarius Toney we're seeing in Kansas City. He gets put in a competent system and people are like, oh, wow, this guy's really good. Well, he's always been good. Now he's just being utilized in a way that's going to,
well, let's throw another name in that one, that same category, Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah.
Marshawn Lynch with Buffalo. Marshawn Lynch with Seattle. Beast mode.
Right? I feel bad. Remember during the draft when we all kind of thought that, or at least the Krueg show here, we all kind of thought that the Niners were going to trade Debo to the Jets. Can you imagine how bummed out Debo would be right now? Zach Wilson throwing for 100 yards a game, and there's not going to be the same creativity with running him. I feel like Debo.
The thing about Zach Wilson is it's going to be tough for him to stay there, because he just lost his whole defensive unit when he said,
the fans.
Yeah. When he said,
the media,
you feel like you disappointed the defense, instead of being humble and saying, yeah, I need to do better. I didn't play well and I just got to be better at what I'm doing. He says, no, real arrogantly. No. Okay, you just told all those guys that worked their butts off all week and kept you in the game that you didn't let them down because you couldn't put any points on the board. Come on, man. Hey, getting back to tonight, I wanted to talk about...
We've got different comments. Harlan Singh Dane says, throw in Mekhi Becton, Larry, and you've got a solid deal. Somebody said, nobody's trading for Trey Lance, LOL. You might be able to say the same thing about Zach Wilson at the end of the year, right? Nobody's trading for Zach Wilson.
Before we get to Dan's point, okay, if we're doing the redrafting thing is a little old, the redrafting the quarterbacks, but if we're just straight up redrafting that draft, the Niners take Parsons, right? And it's just call it a day.
Well,
that would be pretty shocking.
Could have taken Jamar Chase, right?
Yeah.
Well, if you're drafting though, right? What everybody would get the benefit of hindsight, and Parsons ends up.
No, that's what I'm saying. We're doing this stupid media redraft But I'm guessing the Jags are staying with Trevor Lawrence. Let's just say for whatever reason, the top 2 picks still go as they were.
Oh, you meant if they moved to I thought you meant at 12. My apologies. Yeah.
No.
You're right. 100%. Yeah.
That being said, if we did do the redraft, let's say Lawrence would Lawrence go 1? Some people are enamored by Fields, but I mean, Fields, what's the most he's ever thrown for in a game?
Fields ain't going to last. Fields ain't going to last if they keep running him like they're running him.
Fields had 14. He was 14 of 21 for 153, a touchdown and 1 pick, and was sacked 4 times, but ran it 18 times for 85 yards, almost 5 yards a pop, and a touchdown. What do you get?
They're going to run him into.
What do you guys make? Hold on a second. Commercial playing in the background. Sorry about that.
I'm fully out on Lawrence.
Where are you guys on the, like, if you could have any quarterback from last year from that draft with Lance and Fields, and who would you want today?
In the Shanahan offense is kind of different because I feel like I don't think Fields would be able to be doing what he's done. Like Kyle would try and fit a round thing into a square or whatever, however that saying is. I don't think he'd let Fields just kind of do what he needs to do to maximize his value. So I don't know. I get the part of me that is just like a pedigree snob wants to say Lawrence, but I'm just like so out on him. It just doesn't seem like he's a dog. It seems like his arm strength has completely disappeared. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Part of me is like Trey Lance because he's just, he still is the question mark.
Jordan, we're gonna let you go, man. We've been taking a lot of your night. It's almost 11:30. I know you've been working, so we'll let you get on with your night. Good. You got a final thought on the 49ers? I mean, 38-10, nice win on the road. Unbelievable that they got the Cardinals to agree to that. When you really think about what that scene looked like tonight, it was a Niner home game in every way imaginable. The Niners are the iconic franchise, and it essentially signed up the Cardinals to just be, fodder for the 49ers. But also the Niners are really taking it to a different level, and they conquered. D'Amico conquered a quarterback that conquered him a year ago, right? I mean, Colt McCoy did what he wanted last year against D'Amico's defense. This year, the Niner defense was a little bit more ready for it. They punished those receivers after the catch. You got a final thought on the win?
I do. The 49er that's not being talked about enough this year is Charles Omenihu. Charles Omenihu had 6 pressures tonight. He had a 18.1% pressure rate, and it was the 5th time this season that he's had 5 or more pressures in a game. He has been an absolute stud for the 49ers. He is getting better and better each week, and he's wrapping up the last year of his rookie deal. This guy probably hasn't even begun to play the best football he's going to play at the NFL level. And I think the 49ers need to do whatever, Magic Parag and the financial side of things can work out. They need to find a way to fit him in the budget for next year moving forward, because he has been an absolute just godsend for this unit that's been without Eric Armstead and been without Javon Kinlaw. He has been phenomenal for them. I think he's been far and away the second best defensive lineman behind Nick Bosa, and he's playing like a star. And I think it's one of those situations where the name recognition matters so much in sports. But if you look purely at the production and you took the names off the backs of the jerseys, Charles Omenihu would be a guy that's in the mix of the best 10 to 15 edge rushers in the league this season. And I think his ability to kick inside makes him only that much more valuable. But he's a guy that I think just doesn't get enough love, because it's usually Fred Warner and Nick Bosa, and now Mooney Ward's in the mix, and, Hufanga's playing out of his mind, which is a great problem to have when you have so many of those guys. But I just wanted to make sure that Charles Omenihu got
That's a great point.
The recognition he deserves. He has been just exceptional, and a tip of the cap to the 49ers front office. To be honest, they got their value out of him last year when he had 2 sacks and 6 pressures in a playoff game in Dallas, and they gave up a 6th-round pick for this guy, and he's proven to be a complete stud. And again, he's just wrapping up a rookie contract. They could bring him back, and this could end up looking like one of the better trades the Niners have made in franchise history.
Yeah, it's a good point you make. And speaking of Armstead, I believe he may be coming back next week, is what I'm hearing. Kyle was saying
Sources say?
Kyle was saying last week that he was possibly ready to play this week, but the flight and the altitude in Mexico City was maybe too much, and so they're holding him back for New Orleans. Are you hearing the same thing, or is that Has anybody heard that with Armstead?
I haven't, but he's got it's a foot deal, and it's a plantar fasciitis, so it's kind of a,
Plus, he had a little fracture they found out in his other foot, is what.
Right, and I just think that they're going to try to. They know he only's got probably a few games left, and they probably are trying to save it for that playoff run. So I think they'll, as long as they keep winning games and being effective with their D, they're going to probably let him sit. My guess is they're going to bust him out when they need him, and not until. But, it's funny, Jordan, that you bring up Omenihu, because the one thing that was clear to me looking at camp this summer, and I made the point to several guys this summer on that D line, is that there really isn't, it's like 3 starting D lines. I mean, they in camp, I mean, literally every one of those guys on that unit is, in my mind, a starter. Drake Jackson's a starter. Jordan Willis is a starter. Kevin Givens can be a starter. Charles Omenihu can be a starter. Bosa, Kinlaw, Armstead, Ebuka, they're all starters. And it's a crazy amount of depth. And look, they've needed it, right? Because now the whole thing's been watered down with the injuries to Kinlaw and Armstead. So it just kind of shows that that's where their philosophy is. And man, when you have this many starters on your D line, tonight they're leaning on guys like Givens and Omenihu, and those guys are coming through. And just the fact that those guys are sitting 2 and 3 on the depth chart in July, it was something to behold. So great for the Niners. It was a great game plan. And they, it sounded like Sue chose the Eagles over the Niners. And ultimately it sounded like they may have made a pitch on at the trade deadline for more defensive tackle help. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was a tackle out there that they would pick somebody up off the street. Clearly they view that as like like you can never have enough starting pitching in baseball. You can never have enough D linemen, in their defense.
Hey, one quick thing before Jordan leaves. I wanted to throw something out and see if you guys agree. I thought maybe one of the plays of the game, which shows Jimmy seeing the field so well this year, 3rd and 3, they were up 7-3. The touchdown to Kittle. When he took off, I was like, oh, good, he's got the first down. He's going to run for it because he could run for 10 yards easily. And he started to run for it, and then he saw Kittle, and he didn't overthrow it. In fact, Kittle kind of had to wait on it, but I just thought that was tremendous growth for Jimmy tonight to be able to make that decision, because he could have easily got the first down and kept moving the chains, but he saw the big play to Kittle and he didn't blow it. What'd you guys think of that?
Thought it was really interesting. I think when you watch that play over again, you're going to see that if Kittle was running the route one way, and if he had hit him on the route he was running, it would have been a touchdown. Instead, he turned him around, and Kittle, instead of looking over his right shoulder, had to flip around and look over his left shoulder, made the catch, and still made a big play after the catch. But if you looked at it when they showed the replay, and I got to look at it again, but I remember, that awesome camera view that we have from above the quarterback.
The sky cam.
Yeah, the sky cam. It seemed like if Jimmy had hit Kittle on the route that Kittle was running in stride, that Kittle would have scored because there was nobody back there. Instead, Kittle made a great adjustment on the ball and then weaved through and still made a big play. I thought it was kind of quintessential Jimmy, though, Danny, because I think you're right. Normally he doesn't see that play either way, doesn't make that play. And we're just seeing him get more and more in tune with his receivers, just across the board. And that was a great example of that. And also how it's still not natural. It's still he still doesn't see it always the way it's supposed to be. But what I like is he's not taking chances with the football, and he's going on to the next play. He's avoiding the sack and the pick and the super negative plays that have come to define him. And if he can eradicate that part of his game, those are huge negative plays that affect winning and losing football games. If you think about it, guys, it's pretty amazing. We're looking at a quarterback who has made colossal mistakes in big games and who has an incredibly favorable winning percentage. So what does that tell you? It tells you that if he can eradicate the late interception, the late throw across the middle, the turnovers that plague him, he might be good enough to get it done and win a Lombardi trophy. And if that's the case, he jumps in echelon from what he is to something different. So we'll see. He looks like he's in the best groove of his career, and maybe a year like this is the perfect story.
Contract year, it seems to.
Contract year on one hand, Dan, that's a great part, but also, giving up for dead. Nobody thought it.
Yeah.
You were done. You trained pretty much by yourself all summer. They needed you. They threw you in there. Boom. No thinking.
See the playbook.
Yeah. Then they add McCaffrey and
Yeah.
you go to a top 5 scoring offense, and you still got this killer defense with all this talent on all 3 levels, and the secondary's coming of age. Yeah, it's a good looking situation for the 49ers.
I'm a believer, though, that I've got this theory that it's a quarterback's 4th year where they really start to jump to a different level. And Jimmy really was coming into his 4th year as far as games played. Now, he's been in the league much longer, but he's only has like 55 starts or something like that after tonight. So you figure 16 games, 48 games. This is like his 4th year, and you see a lot of quarterbacks take a major jump after seeing the league and learning their mistakes after 3 years or so, and it's just all over. You can go back and look, and guys just seem to jump.
Well, you know what it is that guys come out of college playing one way, and then they learn the NFL game, and some guys can't learn it. And if you can't, and you got to go off reactions, eventually you're going to get beaten down, drummed out of the league. If you can learn it, and when I'm talking about learning it, I'm talking about the weekly complexity of an NFL offense where they may have 125 plays to learn. Can you digest it, learn it, master it, execute it under pressure, cold weather, different personnel, mixing injuries? I mean, it's just a lot to the job for sure. Some guys adjust, and if they make that adjustment, you're right. They get to that next level, and other guys just kind of drift away and give up their jobs to younger guys. Jordan, if I'm reading you in Niners Nation this week, what am I looking for?
Absolutely. The first thing that I will have out is just 5 takeaways from today. So I'll go a little bit in depth on each of the things that, I thought really stood out. I'm going to do a deep dive. I wrote an article last week, I forget if it was a week before, about Jimmy on 3rd and long and how he's been one of the better quarterbacks in the league when the 49ers are in passing situations. But I'm going to shift gears a bit and focus on how they've been on 3rd down since they got McCaffrey. They've converted over 50% in each of the 4 games that McCaffrey has appeared in. So there's clearly some sort of connection there that can be drawn to the addition of him, really elevating them to elite status when converting 3rd downs. And then I also will be doing something on the defensive line, talking about guys like a Kevin Givens, like a Charles Omenihu, the impact of Jordan Willis. And I think I don't want to keep writing the same thing, but I have to keep talking about DeMeco Ryans, and I might do something a little bit more touching on, where do the 49ers go beyond this season? Because I don't think there's any remote possibility that he's still with the team next year, because if there are head coaching vacancies, which there are every single season, and a team doesn't show up with a blank check and hand it over to Mr. Ryans, they should be removed for organizational malpractice, because this guy is just such a special football mind. And what he's doing, pulling the strings for a very talented defense, is ultimately going to be what determines how far the 49ers go this year. So I'll have a little bit on the offense, a little bit on Jimmy, McCaffrey, the defensive line, and really hopefully try to get in some of this tape tomorrow and really start breaking down some of the big plays today that really define this game.
Yeah, that's interesting. If DeMeco goes, they get a couple thirds, right? And maybe Vic Fangio comes back. Maybe Fangio comes back as a defensive consultant, and they get a different, defensive coordinator in there. It's going to be interesting, but I agree with you. I think DeMeco likely at the end of the year gets promoted to be an NFL head coach. Good stuff, Jordan. Thanks for joining us, especially after working tonight. We appreciate it, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks. You guys have a good night. Hopefully the Giants are working their magic at the St. Regis or here.
That's right.
Lombard, wherever they're taking him around the city. Hopefully they're getting something done.
We've got a tip, Jordan, and we're gonna bust it wide open here on the Krueg show that he's signing, and it's going to be a Thanksgiving Day signing.
Yeah, Thanksgiving
announcement, Day, and you heard it here first on the Krueg show.
We got family in Linden, boots on the ground. We have sources. All right, Jordan, good stuff, man. Later, man.
Later, Jordan.
Jordan's awesome, man. I love Jordan. All right, we got about 20 minutes left. Let's talk a little baseball and let's talk a little Warriors. Warriors get drubbed by the Pelicans.
We can cover the Warriors in about 30 seconds.
And, dude, I mean, seriously, the Warriors right now are such a bet against. They were -10 tonight. Easy win, taking the Pelicans.
Oh, yeah.
And then they were -10. Warriors were +10, I should say. But they, you knew they're. Here's the thing: they're giving up 120, 130, and if they're resting all their shooters, they can't score. Oh, guess what? They lose 130 to 85. You had 85 points worth of offense. You got a 130. You're giving up 130 on defense.
But they lose by 45 tonight.
Yeah, they got drubbed, and then last night they were favored by 11, or they were favored. I think the spread was 11, and they won. It was Rockets +11, and the Warriors won by 7. So the Rockets covered that. They can't even cover against the Rockets, and they needed Clay to go off for them to even have a shot to beat the Rockets. I mean,
that's the best thing you can talk about the Warriors right now is Clay.
Clay went over 50% for the first time this year.
Yeah, and he shot. He raised his 3-point percentage from 33.3 to 37.7 or something like that, and he was 10 of 13 from 3. I think the fact that he was able to do that after they made the changes to the offense of saying, hey, move the ball around, stop shooting every time you get the ball, was good for Clay, good for the team, because he was shooting like he was trying to get out of the slump himself. And it was
they were down
19.
Crazy. It was 35-16 at the end of the first quarter.
Oh, I didn't even watch it because I knew it was going to be a blowout. They're
8-10, 1-9 on the road. 1-9 on the road. Though Kuminga had a sick jam. I don't know if you guys saw it, but
and a sick dunk or a sick block on Zion.
Yeah.
Well, didn't they say before the road trip that they were going to go on a some type of I can't remember the word that was used, but a realistic road trip where they expected to try and just win in Houston, and they were going to knew they weren't going to win in New Orleans. I mean, you had. I don't know,
but I'll tell you this. I mean, I got to see what the spread is Wednesday, but I'll take the Clippers Wednesday. The Warriors right now are in a funk. I mean, they look good against the Knicks, but the Knicks are bad. And they got beat in Phoenix against the Suns team. No Cam Johnson, no Chris Paul. Life and death to beat the lowly Rockets. And then drubbed 128 to 83 by the Pelicans. Yeah, I'll take the Clippers in that game Wednesday night. They're just struggling right now. The Golden State's struggling. And it's going to be interesting to see. By the way, Seabass has a good one here. I think Krueg has Dan on, so we can cut him off halfway through the first sentence of his thought. Danny, have I cut you off too many times tonight, Danny?
I don't know.
Have I cut you off more tonight than usual?
I don't think so.
No.
All right. Well, there you go. And if I have, deal with it. I mean,
just deal with it. Deal with it.
Deal with it. I mean, what can I say? I'm the kind of guy that will occasionally cut people off.
Jazz.
Yeah, the one thing that concerned me still a little bit about the Clay, Clay had a great game, but again, Poole not doing it in the starting or the second unit.
I mean, I don't want to overreact to regular season NBA, but I just think they overpaid Poole.
Oh wait, yeah, Larry, I forgot. We didn't tell that we had a little bit where Cy was super exhausted, but he said he'd come on Friday when it was me and Dan starting the show,
right?
And so Cy said he could be on for maybe a max 5 minutes. So then we had a little bit where as soon as we said that Larry wasn't going to be on, that he was going to be like, oh, guys, I got to go walk my dog. I'll be back on in a second, and then just never come back.
He did that?
Yeah. No, it was on purpose. But then everyone was like, oh, look, nobody wants to stay on with that Larry.
Hey, the Warriors have 15 games left before their Christmas Day matchup with Memphis. I just went through the schedule roughly quick. I think they'll probably go 8-7 over the next 15.
Are they going to get to 500 before the 2023?
Let's see.
I
will say they will be looking at the schedule. I think they'll be maybe 2 games over 500.
Clippers Wednesday at home. Then they're at home against Utah on Friday.
So I think that's going to win.
I think both those games will be very tough.
Yeah, I
then
think they'll win them both.
You think they win them both?
Yeah, I'll
then
tell
they
you
go.
where, yeah,
then they go Minnesota on the road, Dallas on the road.
They'll lose both.
Home against the Bulls, home against the Rockets. I think they'll win those.
They'll win those.
Home against the Pacers.
They'll win that.
At Utah.
I think they'll win that.
Home against Boston.
I think they'll lose that.
Well, the Celtics are playing great.
Yeah, they're probably going to lose that.
Celtics are playing great. And at Milwaukee, at Indiana, at Philly, at Toronto, at New York, at Brooklyn.
Okay,
that could be a rough.
They lose to Milwaukee. They beat Indiana. They lose to Philadelphia. Toronto's a toss-up.
That could be a rough road trip right before Christmas.
Yeah, that's why I said they're like 8 and 7 in there. But you know what? That's the other night we were talking. I think the night you were out. I just said, if they just go like 18 and 23 this year on the road, figure go 18 and 23 and go 31 and 10 at home. And now you're at 49 wins. You're probably right in there with a 5th, 6th seed, my guess.
There's I think I would not be surprised if between now and Christmas they get like maybe 5 wins. I'll give them one of LA and Utah. Okay, I think they get one of those wins. One of those will be a loss. I don't think they win on the road against Minnesota or Dallas. So I got 1 win, 2 against Chicago, 3 against Houston, 4 against Indiana. And then at Utah, no. Boston, no. At Milwaukee, no. At Indiana, no. At Philadelphia, no. At Toronto, no. They'll beat the Knicks in the Garden. So that's 5. Yeah, I think they got 5, and then they get at Brooklyn, and then Memphis at home on Christmas Day. I'd be surprised if they got more than 5 wins between now and when they take on Memphis.
I'm going to go 8.
You're going 8. Okay, you're a little bit more optimistic than me.
8 and 7.
I just don't.
Rye, what do you got?
I don't see this team beating anybody on the road. I mean, and they're definitely not. They're not beating Milwaukee, Indiana, Philly, Toronto, Brooklyn on the road. They're not the way they're playing right now.
No, but they'll get it together. They'll get it together.
Vicky Pelich, $4.99. The 49ers should draft Caleb Williams in the 2024 draft. Caleb Williams is the transfer who's playing at SC, who is now the leading Heisman, leading momentum odds for the Heisman. Did you guys see any of SC UCLA?
Yeah,
that was a shootout, man.
Yeah, that was wild. We did our top 4, Rye and I, and then we had a guest on. We predicted our 4 for the college playoffs. I totally bombed it when I said I think Tennessee will get in and win the championship. They're done. But I did say
Hooker tore the ACL. He's out.
I did say USC would sneak into the Final 4, and I think they got a shot now.
Yeah,
it isn't. It was funny. We were talking before about Wilson, Zach Wilson with the Jets. You saw Saleh's not committing to him as the starter for next week. Exactly. That's the number 1 story trending on ESPN. Yeah, number 1 story is that Zach Wilson, he's not committing. I mean, it's not like he's said he's out. He just said he's not going to commit yet. He wants to evaluate the tape. The other surprise this weekend, the Broncos waived Melvin Gordon, and he's fumbling a lot. You don't think Anthony Lynn will bring in Melvin Gordon, do you?
Nah.
I mean, he had him. He knows him. That's for sure.
True.
Where do you think Melvin Gordon winds up? Because Melvin Gordon's not a bad back.
Melvin Gordon would fit really well in this offense, though.
He can catch.
Exactly. Yeah, Kyle doesn't like guys that fumble. Not many coaches do, I don't think.
Yeah. I actually prefer guys who fumble. You don't fumble enough for me.
I'm going to say Gordon ends up. He's going to end up on a contender.
Okay.
I'm going to say he ends up in Minnesota behind Dalvin Cook.
No, because Madison's already pretty good.
Oh, is he?
Maybe. What about Buffalo? just as a little change of pace with
Don't
Singletary.
they have Cook already?
They have
there?
Cook's brother
Yeah.
Cook's brother, but I
Yeah.
don't.
and Singletary, and who else? They have another back too.
By the way, speaking of things that
did they pick up Nyheim Hines?
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
They traded for him.
and he hasn't really gotten much run. He's just been like returning kicks. But speaking of that thing that no one cares of, I've got all kinds of backs on my bench that just
I'm ready to make a deal with you, Ryan.
Yeah,
and we
I've
can
got
do that.
Pollard,
Off
I've got
we got a deal off the air. I will.
Dude,
deal
you're the
with
commish,
Pollard.
dude. Just when we're sleeping,
You're
start moving guys around.
Yeah, there wouldn't be anything nefarious about that, would there? Ryan wouldn't do anything like that.
No, he's totally above reproach.
Not our commish. No way.
Nothing to see here. Nothing to. I think you've got 4 teams. I got a lot going on. All right.
Was that the other?
The other thing is the big story, which we really, I know Danny would have spent the entire time talking about it, but Mark Feinsand of MLB.com is reporting that the Giants will meet with Aaron Judge in San Francisco. The meeting will take place on Tuesday. The AL MVP arrived in the city tonight.
8
and
minutes
is
or
going to
9
meet with the Giants brass tomorrow. Dodgers are supposedly going to make a big run. The Yankees are going to obviously have already made an offer. He's a 30-year-old slugger. He's supposedly looking for an 8-year deal worth more than $300 million. He won the MVP.
I don't think they're letting
133
him out.
runs scored, 16 steals, 62 home runs, 311, 425 on base. What do you think? I mean, there's California taxes. What is the dollar figure that's going to get it done? Do you go to 10 years, 400 million?
No, I don't think you need to do that. I'd go 350, 8 year. I think can get it done. That's
but when
40.
you factor in the California tax deal and what that actually equates to, don't they need to be closer to 400 mil?
Is it the same as New York? Or
it's a little different. It's
it a little worse?
It's the highest. They may have to go 9 years. I've heard that the offer was 9 years. I don't know if it's true or not. Somebody's been putting out that it's 337 for 9, which is 37.4 a year. If you went 350 for 8, you're looking at 43.75 a year. I don't know if you have to go to 9 years, maybe you go to 375. 375 for 9 years is 41.6, puts them right up there. Just get it done. You know what the Giants just better not do is don't come up second over a couple of $1 million. My goodness. I've already calculated he's going to pay for himself with season tickets and merchandise and concessions. I mean, just get it done.
He's the draw they need. I think and his
he
agent
also brings everybody
understands
else with him. He brings other players with him.
Right. No, I agree. I don't know that. I actually believe that the free agency market, when you really look at the dollars that are thrown around every single year, I think it's an annual landmine where there's just, you could step on any bad deal and immediately just do your franchise major damage. This player, I don't think you can, from the standpoint of, I agree with Danny wholeheartedly on the merchandising, the ticket sales. This team has a very affluent fan base and a very in tune fan base that's just bored by what they're seeing. Their farm system has not been able to spit anything out. They have not been big players in free agency for years. They have a ton of money. They have a ballpark that's 100% paid off. There is zero mortgage. They own much of the plots of land in a very valuable, real estate in downtown San Francisco that they're expanding and developing and will for the next 25 years. They're enormously wealthy, and they lack this player.
And it's all set.
And he's a homegrown player.
Yeah,
and I just think that they've been waiting around with their cash, and they're not going to get outbid here. I think they're going to. Yeah, I would be surprised. I mean, I think it might go 10 years, 400 million. I really do. I don't
think it goes that high, but it wouldn't bother me if it did.
I don't even think 10 years, 400 million is necessarily a bad deal. And I heard some guys like, well, how could you not say it's a no-lose situation? He's had injuries. What injuries has he had that are going to be recurring? He's had some broken bones, right? Didn't he? He's had some. What injuries has he had that you're like really worried about? I'm not really worried about his injuries. Are you?
No, I'm not. And I just think, look, the Giants are floundering at the ticket off the turnstiles. They are floundering. They lowest attendance since they opened the ballpark. This team, when they were winning, was selling out and getting 3.2 million a year in attendance. They got 2.2 million. Imagine if you go back up to over 300 million at $50 a ticket. That's an extra 800,000. There's your 40 million right there. Not even counting merchandise and concessions. So that's just one player. Now you start adding one of the shortstops, and then you add a center fielder, whether it be Nemo or Bellinger. And I'd just go Bellinger 1 year because that's all he wants, supposedly. Just sign him. You know what?
How much? What's it for 1 year? For how much?
I think, 15 to 20 million. You just paid Jock 20 million.
There are people, I suggested that as well. There are people out there that are like, oh, they don't need another outfielder who strikes out. Like they have Cody Bellinger. Do you realize that if the Giants had Cody Bellinger, he would have hit third or fourth all year? He's significantly better than Wade, significantly better than Yaz. He is a two-time All-Star. He is a former MVP. He was an LCS MVP. He's 27 years old. He's going to bounce back.
He's in a contract
not going
year.
to be this crappy forever.
Yeah, he wants to get a multi-year deal. So not now.
That's the greatest deal. That's the greatest thing that I've ever heard because that means he's incentivized.
Exactly.
He's not looking for the bag. He wants to get back in the marketplace.
Prove himself. He's got a strength in his shoulder. He was fine until he, celebrated in 2020 and, in the World Series or the playoffs and messed up his shoulder. After 2 years, he's going to get stronger. He's going to, if Cody Bellinger goes out this year and tanks, he's going to have to redo his whole career and start over. He's got to change his mechanics, his swing, and go back to what made him so successful. And he will. He's too good of an athlete. Guy, forget his batting. Guy's an incredible center fielder, runs the bases like a gazelle. I mean,
and the Giants better get serious. I'm reading here, John Morosi, Jose Abreu is a top priority for the Padres. The Padres have an awesome lineup, and guess what? AJ Preller's continuing to build. The Dodgers are hot on the trail of Verlander. They're saying the Dodgers are interested in Judge.
I don't believe that they're going for Judge. I don't believe it because number one, they got Betts, and they've got.
I believe it. I believe it. But it also says
I don't think so. I think it's to jack up the price.
Dodgers and Angels and Giants all looking at Mitch Haniger.
Oh, Mitch Haniger is injured
I would be
all
so
the time.
frustrated if they got Mitch Haniger.
He's hurt all the time. He's going to take Longoria's spot on the IL.
I mean, he had 39 home runs 2 years ago, but this guy has a lot of injuries.
Yeah, I think
a lot of injuries.
If they sign Haniger,
that would be so Giants.
That would be
overpay for Haniger.
Oh, wait, we need a guy to replace Longoria on the IL.
Nobody's buying tickets to see Haniger. Let me just say this too. Brian Sabean, I think, is a really good GM. I think he, obviously I don't know if he's ever going to make it to the Hall of Fame, but he had that kind of a career, and definitely you can make an argument he belongs. I'm pretty damn sure that if Brian Sabean had been the Giants general manager when Barry Bonds was a free agent, they would not have signed Barry Bonds. Okay. So what does that mean? That just means that a lot of times the general managers are so practical in their thinking, and they're not thinking box office. They're thinking about team building and this and that they don't realize that there's a show that people have to, there's part of this is a show. It's entertainment. So the Giants owners basically ran the Bonds thing in 1992. There was no Sabean. There was no Coletti. There was Bryant, but just talking to Sabean, there was many times through the years, hey, we didn't get this done with a left fielder. I mean, I'm not saying that he didn't respect Bonds or he didn't appreciate the greatness of Bonds. I just don't believe that he would have actually chosen to allocate $42 million to a power hitting left fielder. I think he would have spread that money around or used it on pitching. But the Giants owners not overruled because he wasn't there yet, but they did kind of overrule if he ever wanted to move off of Bonds, I'm sure, because Ned Coletti, under Sabian's leadership, negotiated 2 extensions for Bonds after that initial signing. But that's my point with Farhan. I think Farhan is so smart, so practical. Aaron Judge is not a practical signing. Aaron Judge is a marketing signing, partially. And I really think just the same way that the Giants ownership kind of took the lead, they bought the team and they said, you know what, we are marketers and we know how to market. And so we're going to go get Barry Bonds and fix up this ballpark and market the team. And it worked. And they got enough momentum to open, Pac Bell Park in 2000. And look, now they're filthy rich. I think they're at the same crossroads here.
I don't agree with you. I don't know if
has to overrule Farhan, because I think Farhan, in his world, he's going to make the argument, hey, you know what? If I take the money that I could spend on Judge and get 9 Mitch Hanigers and spread the money around, that no. Go get Aaron Judge. Go get the star. Go get the big time guy. They are lacking in star talent. They're not a relevant watch in a neighborhood that has Steph Curry, Klay Thompson.
Right, exactly. Imagine if you went and got Judge,
the Padres, and the growing up Rockies and Diamondbacks. You better get serious, or you're going to get bounced right out of the game.
Yeah, imagine, Larry, if they went and got Judge, Correa, Bellinger, and maybe a utility guy like not a utility guy, but a guy that can do something damage like Will Myers.
Here's what I would do.
And then a starting pitcher,
go get Judge. How about this one, Danny? How about Judge? You go get Judge. You go get Bellinger. You get yourself a shortstop. That's what your free agent spending is. And then you trade Marco Luciano. Once you get Correa or Turner, then you don't need Marco Luciano, and you trade him for Corbin Burns. And then, to me, that's the guy to go build around.
There you go. Corbin Burns.
St. Mary's. He's got a great build. He can front your rotation. You get Corbin Burns and Logan Webb at the top of your rotation with an Aaron Judge-led lineup. You're playing ball. So that's the direction I would go. I would trade Luciano.
I like that.
After I signed a big-time shortstop.
There's some blood flow going down south. I like that a lot. The idea of Judge and
I mean, you'd have to really. I'm hearing the latest rumor here on Roto World is that the Mariners have interest in Trey Turner, and that they're checking on Trey Turner. This, according to who's got that report? Jim Bowden of The Athletic. He says the Mariners not only expressed interest in trading for Gleyber Torres or Colton Wong, but have also checked in on free agent Trey Turner.
As a guy who's watched this for 40, the game, probably 50 years, and you look at it and you see what's ahead of the Giants. The Dodgers are going to be there constantly. The Padres are there now as well. The Diamondbacks, as you said, are coming up. They've got tons of young guys. And then the Rockies are building their farm system. I think that's a great move to do something like that. Get some guys that are proven stars right now. Judge, whether it be Judge and Correa or Judge and Bogarts, or I really like.
If I could pick it, I'd go Trey Turner. Leave Crawford at short unless Crawford shows that he can't play short, and then you flip him. But I would trade Trey Turner. I want Judge, and then I'm trading Marco Luciano in a package for Burns. And that's
Jaguayo taking over with $2.
He says enough of the chit chat. Give me the beautiful wink. Wow, he wants Jaguayo's looking to hit off to
or you want my wink?
You want Danny's wink? Danny will wink.
My spot. I did a spot. I did a live New York style spot there. Yeah.
Hey, Rise going down for the count with needing some NyQuil. So why don't we do this? We'll play the spots. We'll come back. We'll give a final thought, and then we will drive this thing off the cliff on the Krueg Show. Final segment coming up in a matter of moments.
Larry Kruger here for Telmetrics. Thanks to Casey Bateman and the good people at Telmetrics. If you're an occupational therapist, if you're an orthopedic surgeon, a chiropractor, a physical therapist of any kind, Telmetrics is designed for you to use in your practice and will greatly benefit your patients. Telmetrics uses computer vision and artificial intelligence and provides a platform for outpatient rehab therapy services, both in the clinical and the telehealth environments. So using Telmetrics can improve your patient's experience and much more. So for all your sports injury needs, or if you're a physical rehabilitation specialist of any kind, call and make sure you use telmetrics.co, Telmetrix.co. And thanks to Casey Bateman and all the good people at Telmetrics for being a proud sponsor of the Krueg. I'd like to thank our sponsor, Dan Coach Emilio. Dan is a buddy, and he is a phenomenal retirement planning specialist. And you can contact him today at securemoney.com or at his number 925-628-9966. There's a lot of uncertainty in our world right now, and you want to make sure that your money is secure. That is the key. Danny's got 25 years of experience, born and raised right here in the Bay Area, and he can help you get an immediate 10% premium bonus on your principal retirement account. So give him a call, 925-628-9966. He'll make an appointment with you, and you can sit down. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of a deal. He'll consult with you and come up with a strategy to get you going to where you want to be. Once again, 925-628-9966, securemoney.com on the web. And thanks to Tony Casera and the good people at Casera's Italian Menswear. They are housing the Krueg Show t-shirts, and they're a proud sponsor of the show as well. The Krueg Show t-shirt, the Krueg Show podcast t-shirt is available there at their store in Dublin. Their address is 7372 San Ramon Road in Dublin, California. And go see Tony Casera and get yourself a Krueg Show t-shirt and support the show. And special thanks to our sponsor, New York Style Italian Sausage. That's right, NewYorkStyleSausage.com is their website. Phenomenal product, whether it's the breakfast sausage, the Italian mild, the Italian spicy, the chorizo. You cannot go wrong with New York Style Italian Sausage. Once again, NewYorkStyleSausage.com. Often imitated, never equaled.
We grew up with a Sunday dinner. That means no matter how busy you were, no matter where the hell you were, you came to dinner on a Sunday night. Yeah, Sunday dinner without sausage, it's like a church without God. You know, how can you go to church if you don't believe in God? You know, and along with the sausage also became the discussions. That was discussion night. You know, it wasn't a typical family that you sit there and you're quiet, you know, and you don't talk with a mouthful. Oh, no, man. Italians talk when they're eating. Italians even talk when they're sleeping. And definitely we talk with our hands. So if we can't express it through our mouth, through our lips, we express it with our hands. So, and that's what sausage is, really. It's an expression, you know, that life is good.
So New York Style Sausage was started over 70 years ago. We are the largest producer of fresh Italian sausage on the West Coast.
What makes our sausage in New York style is really the recipe came from back east, from New York, you know, from Connecticut.
If you look at all of our labels, there's maximum 4 or 5 ingredients, which we're really proud of.
There's no preservatives, no MSG, fresh in, fresh out.
The pork comes in fresh, goes out fresh. There's never any freezing throughout the process. We've always used fine quality cuts. We're never going to deter from that. It's one of the reasons why our sausage is so good. I guarantee you put our sausage up against anybody else's from a flavor standpoint, no one will beat it, hands down.
Hey, do yourself a favor and do me a favor. Go buy a package of the New York Style Italian sausage. Guaranteed you will love it. Guaranteed.
All right, you got that wink. That means we're coming down the home stretch on the Krueg Show. We take one more perusal through the chat, as we always do, and then call it a night so Dan can make some fantasy trades. It will be like 1 o'clock in the morning, and all of a sudden I'll get this bzz, bzz. Wait, what the hell's that? What's going on? Well, maybe one of the kids got in an accident or something. Oh no! Oh, would you trade Kyler Murray for? I mean, Dan, Farhan needs Dan.
He does, man. This is was my lifelong deal as a kid. Always trying to make
trades
with the Giants. I've moved up from last place to 7th, though.
Wait, by the way, we missed a comment earlier where I think Carlo P said, we were talking about which quarterbacks from the 2021 draft class we'd still like. And Dan he was like, oh, I just don't think Fields is going to hold up like that. And then Carlo P was like, sounds like someone's worried about their quarterback.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm not worried about him this year.
I think he's out. I think that he's out this week.
Is he?
I think he's going to be.
Danny has traded his way to a very good roster.
Here's the thing.
That's okay. I got Jalen Hurts now.
Yeah, Danny has made several moves.
I thought you traded away Hurts.
No, he tried. He wanted to, but I made another trade, so I didn't go that direction. This is kind of interesting from the chat. Romo 2001. Anyone else find it suspicious that NBC Sports Bay Area was at the airport when Aaron Judge arrived? Yeah, like seriously, are like these people at NBC Sports Bay Area that hustling, like they notice everybody who comes into town. Yeah, right.
Like they're TMZ.
Hey, how do you think Larry Bear tipped them off? He'll be at Gate 4 and Terminal 2. SFO is a goddamn city. You wouldn't just stumble into Aaron Judge. I mean, it's just, and it's like like NBC Sports Bay Area is like nothing gets by them, right?
Did you see the thing? You saw it on Twitter, I'm sure, at the hotel, and then he kind of winked, like, "What are you doing in town?" "Oh, just visiting family and friends," and then like a little wink, kind of like.
I don't know if I saw the wink.
I didn't see the wink either.
Go ahead,
maybe it was a twitch.
There's a little wink.
We've got this one from the Ramos family. It says Rye is sick again. Seriously, Rye, you've got a lot of germs going on.
I do.
Are you not eating enough veggies? What are you eating right now, by the way?
Trail mix.
Hey DJ, DJ, you don't respond. Now you finally respond.
DJ Venus, Dan criminally offered me Jalen Hurts straight up for Joe Mixon after his monsters. That's what Danny does. He insults your intelligence, DJ.
No, that's not a bad move. How did Joe do yesterday, DJ?
I'm looking.
I think he got a concussion.
Wait a second. I'm going back to my Dan Twitter or my Dan text strand.
Yeah. Look at those. Yeah. I made some. Okay, so
Danny's made several offers.
Oh, it's not as much of a wink as it is like a. He also looks like it kind of looks, now that I've been analyzing his eyes, it looks like he might be a little stoned.
He's like Hurts and Claypool for Keenan and Hunt.
Hurts and
now that actually, I said,
actually not that bad.
I said, interesting. I said, I need a better receiver. He's like, I've got Rondale Moore. And then, but then Danny threw in like, I've got him, but I'm not offering him.
I wasn't sure. Shrewd, I should have taken the deal.
Shrewd GM move right there.
Hey,
via text.
Rye, put this thing up that I sent you today on that guy's fantasy. That was hilarious.
Wait, let's analyze the wink. Okay, that's just a close of eyes.
He's just kind of.
Oh, that is a little bit of a wink.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are you taking from the wink? Is the wink an international sign of signing with the Giants? Does a wink say I want to be walked 150 times a year because Yaz can't hit a lick?
Hey, put all this together, everybody. Now listen.
Okay,
he is here to sign. Okay, this is my theory.
You don't fly across country to say no.
He does look a little bit like high in a post game, though.
No, he's not high. He's just he
looks a little bit like Tommy T, like a young Tommy T.
He is excited to be here. I think he wants to come home. He would have signed with the Yankees if he wanted the Yankees deal. Why would he be here? If the Yankees already gave him his deal, why would he even take
Why do you get on a
the
plane
time?
and fly across country? You just have your agent do it.
Yeah. He's here to be wowed and learn the whole
Jaguayo.
thing.
Dan is becoming a freaking fantasy wizard. Seriously, this is a guy who he needed his own tech support to get into the draft. Remember that? It was like, Dan, you have 5 minutes. Dan, you have 3 minutes.
That'd be a fun rewatch, actually.
There's 2 minutes and 30
That is a
seconds.
good
Dan still
rewatch,
wasn't.
yeah.
What do I download? How do I hook this up? Next year, he'll be running it. He'll be the commissioner.
That brings up a good idea. I
Will he
think
be an honest commissioner?
A wizard. You can't trust a wizard. But do you think we should do like an awards, like some sort of awards show at the end of the year, like a Krueg show awards?
I think we ought to get people's money and collect pretty soon, so people don't think this thing isn't on the up and up.
Yeah, everybody. Hey, yeah. Can we do that? And get everybody to pay the $25.
Let's collect in the next 10 days.
Yeah, let's just put it out there.
After
Everybody,
Thanksgiving.
Carlo P. He's in the league, right?
You don't even know who's in our league.
Well, he goes
You
by a
probably
different
offered
name.
every person in our league you've offered a trade to. So how could you not know who's in the league?
I don't know. I haven't. I don't know.
Carlo P says Larry, GM, Dan, president of baseball ops.
Which team is Carlo P's? He goes by a different name. Fresh in, fresh out, I think. Yeah, he's fresh in, fresh out. By the way,
fresh out.
The standings have been updated, and the new Farhan's the names of this group, man, is pretty hilarious. Fresh in, fresh out is third. MF, just MF.
Carlo P. Judge will be a Giant, guaranteed. Carlo P. reports on the Krueg show at 12:16 a.m. on a Tuesday that Aaron Judge will be a Giant.
You know, I could be wrong, but wouldn't be the first. But I just feel like when I look at things realistically and over everything, you got the offer from the Yankees. You're not going back, I don't believe, to the Yankees to say, hey, this is what I got from the Giants. Are you going to beat it? Because I think he gave the Yankees an honest shot, and now he's got what the Yankees are willing, and now it's a matter of he knows who he wants to play for, I think. I mean,
if I'm
don't
the
you
Giants, I'm offering him bigger money than I even need to, just to show off.
Exactly, just to show him.
Just show off. I mean, throw the $400 million around and just let everybody know who's the big dog. I mean, seriously, the Giants have nothing but cash.
Yeah, I think the deal gets done this week. I really do. I do think just by his statement last week, he put it out there.
He's home for Thanksgiving and to sign his deal, and then they go sign a bunch of guys coming up, going into the.
That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking, and the fact that his wife, if his wife wasn't from Linden, I would say I don't think so.
This? Sorry, I'm eating, but we're thinking of this from a selfish perspective.
Danny's offended.
Yeah, look at that, man. You're eating on the show. Who eats on a show like that?
Who eats on a show, right?
We're eating. We're thinking about this from like our perspective and how cool it'd be. Like, oh my god, if Judge signed on like Thanksgiving, what if he's doing a family Thanksgiving and he has his whole extended family and everything around, and he gathers everyone around. And he says,
"I'm coming home.
I've got an announcement.
I'm going to the Dodgers."
Yeah. I'm going to the Dodgers. No. You're going to be seeing a whole lot of me because I'm staying here in San Francisco. I'm signing with the Giants. New press release goes out tomorrow, but I want to tell all of you first.
I think the Thanksgiving thing is marketing genius. I think if Larry Bear is as smart as I think he is, and I do think he's pretty bright when it comes to marketing, I think that's, what are you trying to create? It's not if you're signing Aaron Judge, you're not just trying to sign a right fielder or a number 4 hitter. You're trying to change Giants lore.
Yes.
You're trying to add another chapter of greatness to Giants history. That's what Aaron Judge is about. It's not about a left fielder. That's why the whole Mitch Haniger. It's like, really, Mitch Haniger?
Remember, a lot of these things could be smoke screens, like Ned said. A lot of these things you don't even know if you're.
Well, I mean, they got to have a plan B if Judge tells them no. I get it, but I mean, still, how disappointing Mitch Haniger is going to be.
Why would you, if you're the Giants, though? Seriously, You know what the Yankees want him. You kind of know what if the rumors are true, what they've offered. You got to know what it's going to take to sign him. Why would you let him even out of the room tomorrow without? I mean, I've done sales for years. You want to close the deal. You don't want the guy walking. You ever been to a car place and then you leave? You ever go back and buy the car? No, you generally go to another dealership and buy the car.
Let me ask you this. This will be a final thing we'll mention here. Final topic of the night. At 12:20, Rise sick. Danny's got a couple fantasy trades to make.
I do. I have to go on, study the roster, and
I'm making you Larry Bear.
Okay.
You're pitching judge. You can have 3 people in the room. You can be, and you got to do something in the city. You got to go somewhere and make this pitch. Where are you going?
No.
Where are you going? Who's involved in your pitch?
Okay.
So you're either gonna
only
take
have
him
3?
somewhere. You're gonna try. I mean, he's from here, so it's not like he's it's not like you're whining and dining him. He knows what's here.
I can only have 3.
Yeah, let's just say 3 people. You can have whining and dining him. Who do you want?
Buster, Barry, and Rich Aurelia.
Oh, I'm going Buster, Barry, and Steph Curry.
Well, Rich Aurelia was his favorite player growing up.
I'm going Willie Mays.
Oh yeah.
Barry
yes.
Bonds.
Yes. And
Buster Posey.
I like that, Willie.
Willie Mays.
Yeah, can Willie hear though?
Barry
They say
Bonds.
Willie can't hear. Willie might like.
And Buster Posey.
Yeah, I like
Say
Willie.
Hey Kid and Barry and Buster. He's going to say no to that?
Yeah. Steph Curry would be kind of nice too. We're
Steph
right
Curry
down
would
the
be nice.
We're right down the street.
menu.
We're right down the street. You're welcome to all these games, front row.
Sit courtside with me.
Yeah, you'll
Or
be
maybe-
right here.
Or how about this? How about this? If you could set up the schedule, you make the proposal with Willie Mays, Barry Bonds, Buster Posey on Klay Thompson's boat.
Wait a minute.
Wow,
What
and
is-
make him an offer he can't refuse.
What is
On
Anonymous?
Klay
Anonymous
Thompson's
saying?
boat.
I love that.
Hey, Anonymous, is that true that it is confirmed these guys are going to be there tomorrow? I don't know if he meant.
Dan,
he
you know
said this-
you can say anonymous sources tell me.
I mean, Rich Aurelia is a no-brainer.
Anonymous.
Yeah, anonymous sources say
Anonymous sources.
Rich
I don't know if
Aurelia is a
he's saying
no-brainer
that
because
as
Richie's his favorite guy.
Yeah, Richie was his favorite guy. So you got to have Richie there. And Bonds is, perfect sell. And Buster.
Okay, how about this? The 3 people you absolutely don't want there. Appler, Farhan,
Oh gosh.
and Zach Littell.
No, I here's why I think
Sam Coonrod, Zach Littell, and
I've never been in any negotiations for baseball contracts, but I've been in
Really? No.
some different types of negotiations for some big deals, right? And generally speaking,
look at Danny. I'm kind of a big deal.
But generally speaking, when you get somebody, if you want to close the deal, you make sure you go in with your best thing, and you want to ask them, hey, look, if we can get you what you want today, and you like everything that we present to you about the club, and the contract is to your liking, can we get a deal done?
It's a super down-to-earth Aaron Judge. They send Papirski, Padlo, and Fairchild.
I mean,
don't make us be the story.
Yeah.
We had Bonds and Mays at the Haniger meeting.
It's the same thing I said when the Nationals were off. I said, go ahead and give Soto your best deal, and you know what you're dealing with. You know if he's bought in or not. And they bumped their offer, and he declined it. And so they said, we're going to trade you, because they knew they wouldn't have him for the future. If Judge is not buying in, you can get buying signals. And if you got the buying signals, just get it done. That's all you got to do. I mean, it's unbelievable.
But yeah, Dan, what if you just completely seriously were like, I have made a lot of big deals. I actually just recently made a deal to get Jalen Hurts as my
Hey, is MF still
That's
in
what
the?
Farhan would probably say. He'd probably say, "Do you realize that I got Damian Pierce off waivers?" Yeah, I know. I'm kind of a big deal.
No, I just think that they just Judge signs on Thanksgiving special Krueg.
Oh
show.
hell yes!
Oh gosh,
I'm gonna be doing Thanksgiving
All of a
probably
sudden
away
our-
from my stuff, but
our technical
we'll
difficulties
somehow
start
figure it out.
acting up, and we're trying to sign, and it's like I can't hear. Hey, and I keep talking, and Larry, shut up, mutes me. I'm trying to get this deal done.
I've gotten a lot of big deals done. I just pulled a 3-for-3 trade in fantasy.
Hey, I don't know who makes more deals in the fantasy league, me or MF, but we tend to make a lot of deals.
We've got this one or Haniger. Okay,
Haniger.
Carlo P. Will you guys be willing to go live on Thanksgiving? Yes.
Oh, if Judge signed on Thanksgiving, wouldn't that be awesome, man?
No, it'd be great. It'd be the greatest Thanksgiving ever. And I think Larry Bear is the kind of guy that want to do that. And I think you're right, Danny. The timing, because aren't the winter meetings like the first week in December?
Yes, they are. I hope.
So
to be there.
that's
I
when
hope to be
that's
there.
when he wants
For
me
the
signed
Krueg
before
show.
the winter meetings.
I hope to be. Yeah, and then they having this chalk talk on December 1st. Can you imagine if they go into that chalk talk and they haven't done one dang thing? People
Giving
are gonna
Yaz $6 million.
Yeah,
My God.
I threw out a talk. I threw out a question.
That's an embarrassing amount of money for a guy who had 2 years under 220. God, what are they doing?
Here was my question that as season ticket holders we were allowed to submit. Why not?
Dan, you should start a union for season ticket holders.
Put my name. Had to put my name and all that. They got my account number. I said,
Right.
Why not just go out and aggressively set the market and sign Judge, one of the shortstops, and Bellinger, and an everyday second baseman, plus a frontline starting pitcher, and you're now an immediate contender. Plus the fan base is excited, which will start packing the house again. So that's what I want to see. Just you can build your team. I said this back in August. I said all you got to do is reload, and I love Larry's idea of going out and get Burns. If you get the shortstop of the future. You don't
need Luciano. And Luciano's from what I'm hearing, Luciano's not going to be a shortstop anyway.
Probably not.
And you got
probably
Casey
a corner
Schmidt.
outfielder.
You got Casey Schmidt ready to roll.
Right. He's probably going to be a corner outfielder is where he would be.
Yeah. So why not move him right now? I mean, and he's the kind of prospect that would get you Corbin Burns. You're going to have to trade more than that to get him.
I don't know if you would or not. Maybe not.
I think so.
By the way,
Burns is a true agent. And the other, I'll tell you, the other move I'd be interested in is I really think if I'm the Giants, with as much money as they have, I would bring back Madison Bumgarner to get Arizona to give me Jake McCarthy or Pavin Smith or both, because I don't want to bring back Belt. And the first base market, you missed out on Rizzo. The other guys are not that great. Josh Bell had kind of a disaster finish. I think Pavin Smith could be a tremendous young first baseman.
Oh yeah,
and I'd love to see like a Pavin Smith, Will Myers platoon at first. If you had Judge and Wright, something like that.
Bring this place, Giants. I think
Jake
Larry
McCarthy,
Bear.
I think would be a great Giant leadoff hitter and a guy who could play left or center with Judge and Wright. I think that would be, he could be a guy who could really make. I mean, he's got tremendous speed. I love, and they had his brother in the system. So they probably would like the kid. So
I mean, imagine if the Niners go on to win the Super Bowl after the Warriors coming off of an NBA championship. The Niners continue to go on, and the Giants come back with just nothing. I mean, they will be such an afterthought. The more people will want to go to see the A's.
Well, it's not even that they'll lose.
Yeah,
they're gonna.
Oh yeah, they're fourth place.
They're not gonna have any advanced ticket sales.
No.
I would say if they want, I mean, we know what they want. They want the place to be buzzing. They want there to be a buzz around town.
Yes.
They've got to compete with the Dodgers and the Padres in the division, the Warriors and Niners in the market. And yeah, the A's could bolt for Vegas someday, but the Giants understand that they need star power. I mean, now it's like, if you really think about it, they have the total, the total perspective of having the star and then also having a 3-time World Series champion. And they understand that it takes one thing to attract fans and excitement, but it takes also, you got to be able to build a team, and it's not just only about stars, but you got to have something for the fans to kind of sink their teeth into. And right now they don't have that. So to me, it's kind of a no-brainer. Make one good trade, maybe 2, make a couple good free agent signings. And if you do acquire a Judge and a Correa, and you could trade for a Corbin Burns, you know what? Whether you win the division or not, you're going to make a run at it.
And imagine
I think
the
that's all the
marketing.
Giants fans really want. They want to have a compelling product. They know it's expensive. They understand it's expensive. They're okay with it being expensive, but they want to see a compelling product that is competitive and entertaining. And you know what? If they continue to produce a compelling product that's competitive and entertaining, guess what? People are going to hang with them and support them and pay the big dollars to go for years to come. You know what I mean? And even if they don't win, just because that's the goodwill that they've established in this market. So,
I mean, Larry, come on. I mean,
Tyler
Choi's right. Farhan will do his due diligence.
Yeah,
that's the story. Yeah, Farhan did his due diligence.
If he's talking Correa and Aaron Judge, and 3 weeks from now it's Mitch Haniger and Ahmed Rosario, there's going to be hell to pay. There really will be. And it's not even from guys like me, because guys like us talk no matter what. It's the rank and file fan that believes that Farhan, the Giants are one move away. If they, they left him wanting on the Stanton move, on the Harper move. Heck, I've seen arguments trying to argue that those were good moves, that the Giants didn't get those players. But in lieu of that, they've become this colossally boring product that's still very expensive. So I think people are okay paying top flight dollar, but they just want a better entertaining product and a chance. And I think if they make the right moves, they could possibly deliver that. So
Imagine the marketing you could do too if you got Judge.
Plus, Judge is so likable.
Yeah, but you could put Judge and John
Judge is
Jelly.
going to be every little kid's favorite.
No. This is it, Dan. You get Brandon Drury, you stick him in center field, then you go, then you have to nickname someone the Executioner. Then you go Judge, Drury, and Executioner.
All right. On that note,
No, I was thinking
need to call it
I was
quits.
thinking of the picture of Jelly at 6'11" and Judge at
Duval's nickname.
Judge at 6'7". Put the two in pictures all around the Bay Area and say, Giants are coming.
Oh, I forgot that he is a Giant. That is pretty good.
Yeah, Judge is
right,
6'7".
Giant.
He's a
Jelly
Giant fan.
6'11". You put these guys and say,
We've got all the freaks. We've got all the freaks.
Yeah, and then go ahead and bring in Zach Eflin from the Phillies. He's 6'6". Just start building Giants.
If we really misgauge things, and Larry Bear does a Thanksgiving mid Thanksgiving Day Aaron Judge special on NBC Sports Bay Area live from Linden.
Wow.
Live from Linden.
I'm sitting here at the Thanksgiving dinner table with
Hey, Bob, yeah.
But I mean, seriously, the Bonds Barry Posey on Clay's boat would be if the weather was a little better. And
There's a lot of implications out on the boat, especially with the fog.
Yeah,
not see anything.
The whole thing turns into some major catastrophe.
It's like, no, let's not do. No, I like the Thanksgiving.
Speaking of Thanksgiving, whether we do the Judge thing or not, I would love to at least do like 30 minutes either tomorrow or Wednesday on just like You know, just like all that, like food, because that I feel like that's a thing I always listen. It's like a hacky radio segment where you talk and power rank.
I don't know much about food. I don't know a lot about food.
Yeah, exactly. But I've always wanted to be able to be that guy that could do a hacky segment, power rankings, Thanksgiving foods.
Now, what do you guys think of the Thanksgiving person that just decides they're going prime rib? Oh, we don't go turkey.
Get over yourself.
We're going prime rib.
Get over yourself.
I just bought my turkey today. Let me pull it out here.
Let me see it. I want to see what kind of bird you got.
Yeah, see, I'm already figuring it.
I made turkey last year for the family. 22-pounder.
Ooh.
It was a big dog. I signed up for it at Lenardi's, and it was, I forget, a Distel or something like that.
That is a good place to get a big turkey.
Oh man, it was fantastic.
Oh, that's
absolutely
a young
fantastic.
turkey.
It had very large breasts.
Wait, what's up with the young turkeys? I didn't know. Is that
what's up with that? That's like obviously small. That's not like a turkey.
A young turkey? Is that like veal?
What does that weigh?
12.8 pounds.
Oh, it's actually, look at Dan. Look at the strength to hold up the 12-pound turkey. Bounce that thing. Can you throw it up in the air and catch it? Can you do it again?
Oh my god! All right, now can you grease it up and
Can you go around the back? Can you go around the back? Can you spin it? Can you spin it? Your wife comes out. She's like, "What the fuck are you guys doing?"
And we're fingering the turkey.
Dan is freaking me out.
Oh, look who just came.
If this was a great Curb Your Enthusiasm, she'd wind up leaving you over it. You know, be like something like that.
Look, Buster, come here.
Buster,
get over here, Buster. Hey, sit.
Buster, what's your pitch to Aaron Judge? What if Aaron Judge demanded Buster?
Yeah, would you trade him?
Would you trade Buster for Aaron Judge if you knew?
But you get Judge to sign a 7-year deal.
You get Judge at your price, but you have to give up Buster.
Ooh, now you're really
5-year minimum though.
Okay, no, wait a minute. Let's.
What
you
guy
get
will
Buster?
get rid of
You have
his
to give up
man's
Amy.
best
Come on.
friend?
What if he says I'll sign?
Wait, what did you just say?
I said you. Buster says you, or Judge says you. I'll sign, but Amy has to.
So now your dog is equal to my wife?
Yeah.
Well, Buster says no. I mean, just how about your penny?
Are you
then?
trying to tell
How
us
about
that that's the level that you consider your wife on the same level as your dog?
How about
maybe
penny?
you guys need to go to counseling?
Let's make your penny. Your penny. Would you do it?
Well, I'm just not Willard's penny because that's the fake penny.
That's right.
My God, who steals a dog name?
The one thing you weren't factoring in there, Dan, and why I might do some deal for the dog if it's at the right price, is that probably you're going to get like a bunch of like your dog on like Judge's Instagram and in all sorts of photo poses. Maybe he even becomes part like the mascot of the team. And all of a sudden Buster's living a life that you could never have even provided for him. He's just living it up in luxury as a celebrity. The dog that brought Judge to Frisco. Wait, you muted yourself.
You muted yourself. You're still muted.
Oh, Graves.
Oh, Graves said mute Dan. That's why I muted him. All right, I'll unmute Danny.
Okay, so here's
the hijinks. To see would I
let Buster go to
at
Judges? I mean, come on, what kind of father would I be? You know, I couldn't give him up. But I would say, hey, I'll buy you. I know you have plenty of money, but I'll go buy you the same puppy where I got Buster.
Give him
You're not getting Buster, but I'll give you a reasonable facsimile.
No. What if he agrees to clone Buster and give you the clone?
Saying Buster, I wouldn't know the difference.
You would know the difference, but you wouldn't know the difference.
You know, as you're getting older, your eyesight will get worse anyway, and it won't make a difference whether it's Buster or another dog.
Oh, Buster's my buddy.
All right. That's a good one, though. Would you give up your dog? Would you give up your dog for your biggest free agent signing?
I don't think Aaron would make me do that, though. I think he's
Aaron's much sweeter than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like, the other thing about Judge is he's a super high character guy. He's like Curry.
Yeah.
Super high character. And this is how you build your franchise. You build your franchise around guys.
Well,
like
maybe
this.
there's something to it that he was turned off by being booed, or what was it? Him being booed, or was it one of his teammates being booed that he was turned off by?
He was.
Oh, it'd be pretty fun to just get into some I wonder who the first person in the local. Okay, predict that the first person in the local market after the Judge signing to turn on him.
Grant Cohn.
Grant Cohn.
No, it won't be Grant. Well, there's so many people that are bought and paid for that it would be like there would be people that are just that's the one.
Some guy that would be.
This is more like it.
He's not a clutch hitter.
This is more like it. Would you move to Linden for Judge, Dan?
Where exactly is Linden?
The answer to that is yes.
You would move to Linden?
Sure.
You would not.
It's not that far from. It's in the Stockton area. I would. It's a small town.
You can move to Stockton?
I'd probably become Judge's babysitter. My wife and I.
I mean,
they got the grandparents.
You're telling me that I guess that shows your priorities. That's pretty good. That shows some good character on you, Dan, that you would move to a completely different state in a random town over give up your dog.
Yeah. I would keep my buddy. Cool. My buddy.
The population would jump from 1784 to 1786.
With Buster and Faith, 1788. We'd have to add 2 more.
Okay, but also, you have to run for mayor of Linden.
The city is the host of the Linden Blank Festival each spring. Do you guys want to guess what the Linden Blank Festival
has something to do with agriculture?
I'm going pear.
Linden Blank Festival. Do you want to make a guess?
Lemon.
You're saying pear?
Lemon.
Pear Festival?
Pear.
Pear? Danny? The city of Linden. I'll do it one more time. Give you time to think. The city of Linden is the host of the annual Blank Festival each spring.
How am I supposed to know that?
Yes.
I haven't moved there yet.
Could it be like winter, like a winter solstice festival?
No, it's a cherry festival. Cherry.
I knew it was agriculture.
There you go. Cherries. Who doesn't like a good cherry?
Oh, I love cherries.
I love a good cherry.
Yeah, it's Southern California. Yeah, the Central Valley has unbelievable.
Maybe we'll do a remote
cherries.
during the cherry festival out there. Krueg show remote.
We will do it. We will do it. And I will, if Aaron wants me to move to Linden, I'll move to Linden.
Would you wear a shirt that says I would my cherry at the Linden Cherry Festival?
Oh gosh!
What if Judge came to the Giants and signed like a 5-year deal with a 2-year out, and it came up that Dan was such a disgrace to the people of Linden that he took the out after the 2nd year and blamed Dan publicly for driving him because the people the only way he could possibly stay is if Dan. If Dan would leave Linden, if Dan refused to leave Linden, turn this into a huge controversy. Aaron Judge wants this Dan Cochimilio out of Linden. It's such a small town that he's wreaking havoc with his killer dogs and his complete side food, and he's trying to sell it out of the back of his car.
Yeah.
And
Aaron Judge is saying, this guy's coming over to my front door trying to make fantasy football trades.
I've got this maniac, stalker, Giants nut, Coach Emilio, who's moved to Linden and harassing my family, and then Dan starts getting death threats.
Oh,
that'd be great.
Gosh, that would.
I'm looking forward to it.
I would. No, I'm not a guy that would bug people or hound anybody.
Seriously. Do you want? I've got Kyler and Jonathan Taylor, and I want Pierce, and I want.
Dan's like, no, seriously, I would do that deal for Linden. So let's stop with the jokes.
So,
all right. On that note, guys, it's 12:45 and 3 hours and 7 minutes into the live stream. Thanks to everybody who participated. Did we get this last one here? No, we didn't get this last one. We got this one super chat. The Recovery 716 donates $4.99. I'd like to see Dan throw that turkey so it hits the ceiling. It says, I'm really excited about the potential of signing Judge, but do you guys think the video of him was staged just to get the Yankees to pay him more?
No.
Mm.
No, I don't think. And to be completely honest, when you're on the level that he's on, I kind of agree with Dan, which is always dangerous, but I kind of agree with Dan. I don't know that he would be flying back and forth. He's already got the Yankee offer. He could easily say to them, hey, the Giants, are home to me. I really want to be there. Give me your best offer. I mean, are they really? I don't see him playing the two sides off each other. I know that's kind of the agent's job to play both sides off each other, but now we're in such a high rent district now that I think it's kind of just like, hey, Aaron, where do you want to be?
Yeah,
and it's like, I'm sure the Yankees, like anybody else, and whoever loses this battle between the Giants and the Yankees wants to save face with their fans.
Yeah, because they're going to be embarrassed as hell. One of the sides is going to be embarrassed as hell come opening day in Yankee Stadium.
Right. So I think the Yankees say, hey, we make our best offer. And he went there. And I wouldn't even be surprised if the Giants offer was like somehow less. It was less than the Yankees offer, just because it was like a statement that he, at the end of the day, he really just wanted to be at home. You know what I mean?
I think it makes it easier for him if it's a little bit more, because then it's like,
I took the most money from the union, you mean?
Well, no, because if he takes less money to go to the Giants,
the Yankees fans could rationalize it better.
Huh?
If he got more money? Or do you think the Yankee fans could rationalize it better if he got more money? Or because then it's just like, what? He went for more money?
No,
when everybody knows off the field, New York is going to give you ability to make amount of money that's probably greater than
I think
San
he's got to
Francisco.
take the more money, because he's already. Then it looks like, you took less money and you never were serious about coming back to New York. You didn't even. You were.
Yeah. Like he has to make it seem like he wanted to stay in New York, but he was disgusted and disrespected by the offer.
Yeah. Exactly.
But you never know. Maybe the Giants, maybe the Yankees offers more like 320, and maybe the Giants offers more like 400 mil.
Yeah, I think the Giants come up significant. Not too. I think it's 3 to 4 million more per year annually, maybe. I don't know, and it'll be more overall. But I do think
the Giants need what Judge brings, which is a message to the rest of baseball that they're in it to win it, and that they're stepping it up, and they're going to take the lead, and they're a big time player at the table right now. Yeah, they've won their 3 titles, and their owners have tremendous wealth, and the other owners in baseball know that the Giants ownership group is uniquely positioned. But as far as the baseball media world, the Giants are just a team with a lot of holes.
Well,
if they go get Aaron Judge, they're the big team that's going to, that's hell bent on competing with the Dodgers and Warriors and all the big money being spent.
I'm telling you, I believe if I'm running the show, it's a done deal. But I don't know. But I think Larry Baer, he's a lot smarter, and I believe these guys know. Look, we want to get this done. We want to go into the winter meetings as the talk of the team. And they're going to be able to get other deals done. And the other thing that just strikes me as I've been hearing so many people that are not like high up, but just level people outside the media that act like they have knowledge. I mean, we've heard like 5 times I've heard it. Yeah. He's coming home. The barber, that story of the barber. There's been 3 or 4 other people that said he's like they have knowledge of it. And I just think there's just too much talk around that. The fact that he's here this week, he's in San Francisco, he's smiling, he's saying, "What are you here for?" Oh, a wink. Oh, you here for something else? Oh, we got something, something's going, kind of.
Well, not only that, I mean, think about it, Danny. I mean, looks like a duck, quacks like a duck. It's probably a duck. He came out and said, and this was his quote. Nobody put these words in his mouth. I would like to get this done early. So basically, so we could build the team around me in addition to me. So he kind of let us know that his timeline was early in the off season. And now here he is early in the off season flying across country. So I would say,
this thing ain't going into
our
January.
Thanksgiving.
This thing ain't going into January.
I could see this being a Thanksgiving judge to the Giants. That would be a sweet Thanksgiving.
That's my gut. That's just my gut.
I like it.
Based on human nature, how things kind of work. I mean,
so we've decided he's coming. All right, good. We got that done. Now it's on to Bellinger, Corbin Burns, and building a team around him.
And Correa.
Yeah, and making sure he doesn't get walked 7,000 times.
Yeah.
All right, guys, good stuff. When are we streaming next?
Oh, hold on. I got to spin this turkey. Watch this.
When do the Warriors go again?
Wednesday. Okay, we're going to end this thing.
You guys want to go a little Wednesday stream, talk a little Thanksgiving?
Yeah, I'm going to spin this all the way around a 360 and have the label come back. Let me take my glasses off so I can see better.
Break something.
Oh,
that was sick.
Can we do a 720?
Why don't we do this? Put it on the floor and let's wager $1 on which dog goes to lick it first.
Hold on, wait. Whoa! Didn't. That was. Yeah.
Whoa! I'm compelled.
You're gonna drop that thing. You're gonna break it.
It'll be faith.
Why don't you jump on it and see how far you bounce?
Back to pass.
Is that like it? That looks like what that I'll tell you that thing that Madden used to have in Detroit on Thanksgiving Day. The turducken with all those legs taped to it and stuff.
Monster spin.
This is guess where I got this. One guess.
One guess.
There you go. Costco.
Danny, body by Costco.
I don't pay it.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get exactly what you asked for. Here for whatever you bring me, getting handled. I answer to no one, I don't need to hassle. Yeah.